Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
I'm just going to make some assumptions. Dan Patrick.
They have to have a contingency plan. Sam Smith, the author of The Jordan Rules, what did the documentary not capture?
You know, to me, it's sort of like based on a true story. You know, like you see a lot of these movies. I think everything they're talking about basically happened, but elements of it get forgotten about. You know, like when he provoked the Pistons into that walkout.
Joined by the four Dinettes every weekday for the best in sports talk.
And he just eviscerates this two-time champion, three-time finals team as unworthy. The NBA should take away their trophies. And that's really what motivated him to do this. It wasn't this walkout that, this revisionist history the Pistons came up with later.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
We're still talking about Michael Jordan.
This is Dan Patrick.
Hour one on this Wednesday. Welcome to the program. Gang's all here, ready to go. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Paulie's about 20 feet away from me. Fritzy's an hour away. Seaton's an hour away, and McLovin's an hour and a half away. But we're giving you the feeling that we're right there in your car or in your home. And thank you for letting us be part of your life. 877-3DP Show, email address, dp@danpatrick.com, Twitter handle at DP Show. You can watch on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show, as thousands of you have been, and listen on our Fox Sports Radio lineup, 362 radio affiliates around the country. With the lull in sports, the media is hitting us up with new lists every day, and I love a good list. These are usually reserved for late July when everybody's on vacation and you're just trying to fill up some space. But with nothing going on, everybody's ranking players, teams, uniforms. Anything that can be ranked is being ranked. I'm not a fan of the list because they're so subjective. Actually, they drive me crazy. No list has ever changed anybody's mind on anything. It just hasn't. You too often end up denigrating a great player's career unnecessarily because you'll say, well, such and such shouldn't be ranked that high, or he should be in there instead of that guy. ESPN's getting a lot of attention. They have their list of the 74 greatest players in NBA history, this being the 74th year of the NBA. I'm not sure how they rank the players. I don't know what the criteria was. How do you rank the Greek Freak and LeBron against guys who have been retired for decades? The different eras, the different rules, the different styles. There's nothing going on now. I realize that. So I begrudgingly open the show with this list. And I am fortunate. I've said this before. Probably you're nauseous from hearing it so often. I got to see everybody play. I got to see everybody but Bill Russell. Everybody else I was able to see in person. Will Chamberlain saw him in person. Oscar Robertson saw him in person. And that's where it's difficult. I don't know. People will say, boy, at Oscar Robertson, he averaged a triple-double. That's all people know about Oscar Robertson. If he didn't average a triple-double, people wouldn't mention him in the top 10. Now, Oscar had the numbers. Oscar was a dominating force. People don't know anything other than, how many people saw Oscar play with the Royals? Not many, because I went to the games, and no one was there. I was there when they had Bob Cousy. He goes to Milwaukee, and he plays with Lou Alcindor. And Lou Alcindor, Kareem was so dominant back then. They won the NBA title. That's the only title that Oscar has. But we look at Oscar, and not to just single him out, it's just we're not quite sure what to make of these guys who played in a different time, a different era, different style. Wilt Chamberlain is the most dominating player of all time. Oh, but he didn't win. If Wilt had 6 titles, would Wilt be the greatest player of all time? He led the league in assist, rebound, scoring, field goal percentage. Whatever you said, they should have said, Wilt, you can't win championships. Then maybe he would have done it because individually he did everything. Oh, you're just a scorer. He said, all right, I'll be a defensive player. I'm going to lead the league in assists. When the Lakers were so great when they won 33 in a row, he was a defensive-minded player and a rebounder. That's what he did. He wanted to prove, I can score 50. I don't have to score 50. Jerry West, who I dearly love, Jerry could play in today's game. So when you're trying to figure out, and I know it's supposed to be for entertainment purposes, I unfortunately take it personally. Because I think when people vote on these, they go, Dirk Nowitzki, yeah, he's better than Bob Pettit. Okay, I don't even know how to argue that. I'll tell you who got shortchanged on this list is Isaiah Thomas. Like, it's open season on Isaiah Thomas. You may not like him, not an easy guy to like, and there's a lot that goes along with Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas is one of the top 20 players of all time. All right? He is. You may not like it. You may say Steve Nash was better or John Stockton. He won at Indiana, and he went in with the bad boys, and they were a dominating force there. Isaiah Thomas is I think he's like 31st best player according to these rankings. 32nd, something like that. Okay. You know, the top 10's got Shaq at number 10, Tim Duncan 8, Larry Bird 7, Wilt is 6, Magic is 5, Kareem 3, LeBron 2, and Michael is number 1 on the list. All right. You start ranking these players, and it always gets back to that guy's not as good as that guy. We don't celebrate this. It's rare when we do. What you do is you eventually denigrate a player and his career. Tim Duncan was a wonderful player. If Tim Duncan doesn't have his, 5 titles? Is Tim Duncan in there? The winning is the great elixir here. That's the great Band-Aid. Man, when you win. You know, Jerry West won 1 title. We don't give him credit for, 9 appearances in an NBA Finals? Oh, he couldn't win the big one. Oh, Mr. Clutch couldn't win the big one. Okay. I mean, I can't argue with it. He couldn't beat the Boston Celtics. All right. You could. No one else did. But, we hold that against him. How many championships do you have? Because Bill Russell is the greatest team winner. He's not the greatest player. Bill Russell wasn't a great player. He was a great team player. He was a wonderful defensive player, wonderful rebounder. He was athletic, and he understood the game. And he did what they needed him to do. But he won. He won 11 titles. Well, if he won 11, then he's the greatest player of all time, isn't he? Michael won 6. Yeah, but Michael was, he did it with flair. He was there. Bill Russell played with the Hall of Famers and the Celtics. Okay, wait, I don't know. What are the rules here? He won 11 titles. Won an Olympic medal. He won in college a national championship at San Francisco. I don't know. What makes you the greatest of all time? And who's voting on this? And did everybody? That's where somebody should say, these are the people, these are the players that I saw. That's all. Just give me perspective on it. And I'm not saying I should be involved in these lists, but you should have guys like Bob Ryan or Jack McCallum or guys who were around the league for a long time. Peter Vesey. Those are the guys who saw everybody. And maybe you can make this, you have to make it generational to be fair to the player. Because if I look at Wilt and Bill Russell, and I could put Walt Bellamy or whoever else big men you want to put in there, Bob Lanier, and then I'm going to move it into the new generation where it was Lou Alcindor when he came in. We had not seen anything like Lou Alcindor when he came in. And to me, he could play now. He could have played in the 50s. I mean, his game would have translated. But I want to know how many players you got to see. To be fair. And look, I think Bill Walton is overrated as an NBA player. He's one of my favorite people. He got injured. I mean, he was wonderful that 1 year and a half with Portland. I mean, it was, if Grant Hill doesn't get hurt, Grant Hill might be a top 15 player. And you're trying to go, Pete Maravich, I love Pete Maravich. Pete wasn't a great NBA player. He was a wonderful scorer, and he had flair. He didn't win anything. Walton won 1 with the Blazers and then was a 6th man with Bird's team in, 86? Okay. Like, is Kevin McHale great because he won championships? Is Robert Parrish great because he won championships? Or is somebody not great because they didn't win championships? Drives me crazy. But, hey, it's a slow time here, so allowed me to chew up 10 minutes there. Yes, Paulie.
I scrolled through the list, and on these lists, if I have to stop and think about it, that's kind of when I know I've reacted to something. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the 27th ranked NBA player of all time. He's had 3 great seasons, not 8 or 9 or 10, but he is currently top 3 on Earth.
He should not be in the top 50.
But he's ahead of guys like John Stockton, who had 15 All-Star seasons, or Allen Iverson, or Isaiah Thomas, and John Havlicek. And there has to be something for longevity.
Is Stockton ahead of Isaiah Thomas?
Yes.
Is Steve Nash ahead of Isaiah?
They're 30 and 31. He is just ahead of Isaiah Thomas.
That's wrong.
Steve Nash had a run, though, for about 7 years where he was awesome.
Spectacular. Absolutely. Love watching. Didn't win anything. Isaiah at least won. Do I factor in winning with some guys and not winning with other guys? I don't understand that. People don't like Isaiah. I get it. It hasn't helped with the recency bias with the Last Dance and Jordan's reaction to Isaiah Thomas, and then everybody's coming out of the woodwork and saying they didn't like Isaiah Thomas. I get it. I'm not a fan of Isaiah Thomas's. But the basketball player, I can't argue that. He was great. Steve Nash, loved watching him. Steve Nash, not a better basketball player than Isaiah Thomas. And this is where it gets back to we denigrate players. Yes, Paul.
Here's a couple more. Bill Russell is considered the 4th best basketball player of all time.
You knew this was going to happen, Seton.
Did you just bark?
I did. I think I growled. I don't know.
I've been dealing with this all morning.
I know. I've been pacing back and forth before the show.
Do you see this list, Paul? I'm like, I need my oatmeal. Okay, Bill Russell is the 4th ranked NBA player of all time. That's based off winning, right?
Yes.
Not completely, but heavily.
Russell didn't have great numbers. He was a decent scorer and a great rebounder and an unbelievable defensive presence. But do I consider him the top 5? No, I don't. And he won. He was a winner. Why is it nobody else on the Celtics who won all those titles are included in, top 10 players of all time, top 15 players of all time? I mean, K.C. Jones, Sam Jones, Satch Sanders, Havlicek. Are they included in there? And the answer is no. Bill Russell was a wonderful player and the ultimate team player and the team winner. He's not a top 5 player of all time. Yeah, Paul.
I have another one that I think is going to bother you, and this is real specific. In the number 2 spot all time is LeBron James.
Yeah.
He's obviously top 10 easily.
Yeah.
But number 3 is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Who would you prefer to have in their prime? You.
So would I rather have LeBron or Kareem?
In their prime as your first pick on your team to start your franchise? Because I know your answer.
Well, I would take Kareem.
Yes.
I think Kareem, if you saw him, there was no... What am I doing? They got me. ESPN got me again. They had the stupid college basketball poll.
That wasn't the title of it. It was not titled the stupid basketball. I checked it. It was not the stupid bet.
All right. Anybody else on that list that I need to be upset about? I breezed through it because I swore I was not going to do it. Because Paulie goes, hey, top 74 list. I go, of what? ESPN NBA player. I go, no, I can't. Now you should look at it. Why? You may not like some things. Yes, Seton.
This the unofficial name of this list was 50 Lakers and 24 other guys.
There's a few Lakers in there. There are a few. Yeah. I'm surprised that there are other franchises in the NBA.
Kevin Durant is ahead of Jerry West. Does that bother you? I can look at your face.
No, let me wait till I'm okay with that. I think Durant is one of the great players of all time. And maybe let's see how he comes back from the injury, but he could be, a top 15 player of all time. I'm okay with that. And he's made himself better. He's not one-dimensional. Who else is in there? Is Russell Westbrook ahead of Jerry West? Where's Chris Paul in there?
He is.
He's a little higher than I think he should
he's the
be.
40th ranked NBA player of all time.
Okay. Never won anything. Once again, I don't know if that factors in. Does that mean anything? Because we love to lead with that. Man, he was a winner.
Chris Paul is ahead of Rick Barry.
Chris Paul is not a better player than Rick Barry. Rick Barry single-handedly won an NBA title. Look at of teams that have won a title. Look at the Golden State Warriors when Rick Barry won that title with him. Because they had Clifford Ray and Derrick Dickey. They had a couple of good guards, but that wasn't a great team at all. Al Attle's the head coach.
Was that 74-75?
Yeah. I think they swept the Bullets.
Yeah, you're right. Rick Barry, Butch Beard, Clifford Ray, Jamal Wilkes.
Silk Wilkes was a good player.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah, McLevin.
One that got a lot of attention, Dr. J was 15. What people thought was too high. I'm not sure, obviously biased, but is that because of early Dr. J was a little better than late Dr. J?
If you're factoring in his ABA career, absolutely. Like Dr. J was, we had never seen Jordan. Some of us had seen Dr. J, and watching him in a game against the Kentucky Colonels, ABA, and the Kentucky Colonels were great. That was a Dan Issel-led team. They had a wonderful team. Artis Gilmore, Louis Dampier, and Dr. J was he's like, there was one guy who was playing a different game than everybody else, and that was Doc. He wasn't as polished as today's stars are. You know, his mid-range jumper and all those things, but he was a phenomenon. He was a force, a tour de force is what they would say. Yes, Seton O'Connor.
I was wondering where Zion was on the list.
Checking.
Could you check where the Ball brothers are? Is LaMelo on there yet?
Lonzo is just for his Laker career because he was a Laker.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think Zion at 19, a little low for me. A little low.
Is Trey Young on there?
He's not.
No.
Reggie Miller, 49.
Reg was a great player.
Reggie Miller's ahead of James Worthy. That's a chip.
Big game James. Ooh.
I know.
Man, I love James Worthy.
James Worthy, though, if you look at his stats, he wasn't the focal point. He shared the ball a lot. He was he was consistent.
Boy, when he was out on the break, though.
Thunder.
Unstoppable. Out on the break, he was getting it, and you weren't stopping him. Yeah, I don't want to get back to this where I start criticizing or saying this guy's better than this guy. Like, it pains me to say Bill Russell is he's not a top 10 player. Now, if you say his career and his accomplishments, okay, but if you said, hey, these are the players that are available for an open draft, Bill Russell is probably not going to be one of the guys you take. And he couldn't, in today's game, Bill Russell wouldn't be the same. Now, would he change? Would he evolve? Yes, he would. Kareem wouldn't have to change. Kareem would be still unstoppable. He would even add, a little bit more to his jumper, stretch it out a little bit. He'd still be dominating. But, would Wilt be the same player? He wouldn't, but he would evolve. He would be somebody different. He didn't have a good shot. But he was just 7 feet, 275, and he dominated people. Game was different back then. Where's Steph Curry on this list?
He's way high.
Top 20?
Checking. Hold on.
All right. By the way, this program brought to you by LegalZoom. They make it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today. The right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. Chris Mannix will join us coming up. We'll talk about the NBA. I mean, they're doing their best. They're chipping away at trying to come back. So Mannix will join us coming up in a little bit. Mike Vrabel, the Tennessee Titans head coach, will join us as well. Yes, Paulie?
If you guys don't know, where would you guess that Steph Curry is right now on the top 74 players of all time? Just throw out where you think he'd be. What number? What spot?
I'm going to say 31.
Okay.
I was going to go... I initially thought 19. I'll stay with 19.
Steph Curry is 13. He's ahead of Dr. J. He's ahead of Jerry West, Karl Malone, ahead of Dirk Nowitzki.
But he won. See, that's the key.
Ahead of Scottie Pippen.
If he doesn't win, then he's just he's fun to watch. Yes, Eden.
Not only did he win, though, but he's one of those few game changers.
Yeah.
The game was different before he entered the league, and it's different after, you know?
Well, he has changed the game. I mean, how many guys in the history of the sport changed the game? But you can say that about Steph Curry. History will be very kind to Steph Curry, and they should. Yes, McLovin.
And I'm a little worried that you're getting too worked up over this topic. So I thought maybe we'd go in a different direction. Yesterday's social media debate, greatest American rock band, non-British. So you don't get worked up over that, just to calm you down.
Don't do this to me. I'm very fragile right now.
Should we pull out the college basketball ranking with Zion up there too, just to put you over the top?
We have the 12 greatest sportscaster hair rankings as well.
Oh, I know I'm in that. That's where I forget who asked me that. It might have been Keith Olbermann. He goes, hey, what do you think of the ESPN Sports Center anchor rankings? I go, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, and then he was like, put question mark there. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see the rankings for Sports Center anchors. Is it recently? Somebody said, oh, you lost to Scott Van Pelt. I go, good. Good for Scott. I don't care. You know? The older I get, the better I was. I'm fine, you know.
But right now, there's going to be some guy who's just like, you know what? I was there to see both of them. I saw Dan. I saw Scott.
Yeah.
I saw Olbermann. I saw them all do live television.
Yes.
You weren't there.
Yep. And that's what you need to have somebody instead of somebody from the big lead who's like, 24, who's going to say, Adnan Virk, he's going to get my vote there.
Randolph K. Scott.
Randy Scott is going to get, hey, you know what? I saw him. He turned to Fraser, too.
Game was different after Randy. He was a game changer.
He's the Giannis of the Sports Center set.
Yeah. Sports Center was a whole lot different back then. Yeah. Let's take a break. We'll come up with a
Let's keep going.
No, I'm going to go. I'm going to hit the stop sign. I'm going to abide by it. There's a stop sign. I'm not gonna ease through the stop sign. Chris Mannix will join us, and then we'll actually talk about something that is real, and that is the NBA players trying to get back, and what is this time frame? And does he think if they do play, will there be an asterisk attached to whoever wins the championship, especially if it's LeBron? 23 after the hour. This is the Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time. Check your email, your Instagram. What about checking something as important as your credit? Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores. That's the score used by 90% of top lenders. And they do it for free. That always gets Fritzy, his ears kind of perk up.
It does. I perk up over the free thing.
Yeah. Even if you're not a customer, checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations do apply. Talking to Michael Wilbon. Yeah, the other thing is Jordan didn't have anybody to conquer after a while. Kobe always had Michael there, not physically, but even larger, the myth of, or the legend. And then LeBron came in, but Kobe was still focused on Michael. And, you had other guys retire, and then he's still chasing Michael. And I think he chased him till the very end. He probably wanted to know what Jordan scored in his final game. And he probably knew what he scored when you think about it, right?
He knew, he'd do the numbers, because sometimes, if I wrote something, and particularly if I wrote something, and he could have it in front of him, or somebody sent it, or people had clips, Dan, you remember the old days, and Kobe was, he's 41. There's nothing old about him. But remember when players the PR people used to give them clips, and they'd be at their locker, and they'd have stuff to guys who were interested?
Yeah.
I remember that, and Kobe was probably the last of those guys. But he would see something, and he would know, if he asked you, he was going to get on you, he was going to come back at you about a stat or a trend or something that he had done. He would say, do you know how many shots so-and-so took last year, average per game? And, probably the first couple of times I made the mistake of thinking that he was going to be in the ballpark. He wasn't in the ballpark. He knew exactly. He knew exactly what the number was. He looked it up, before he engaged in that conversation. And, the Jordans, he never shied away from it. He loved it. And you know what else? Here's the thing. Michael loved it. I never get the feeling that I know that Michael is tired of, annoyed with the LeBron GOAT questions, issues, because we've talked about it a little bit publicly, more privately. I never got the feeling, and maybe just everybody was younger and it was more tolerated. And Michael, he loved him. He adored Kobe right back. He wasn't put off by any of that. And so, it's just everything about the way people engaged with him right through this was different than we engaged to me. And maybe you can come up with somebody else, with anybody else in sort of sports public life. And then, there was a period where not all of it was good. But the way people engaged with him was different.
I think Michael saw himself, and how could you not like seeing yourself in somebody else? He liked that he was just fearless. Michael doesn't see himself in LeBron. He saw himself in Kobe.
No question.
When's the last time you put on one of your Super Bowl rings?
A long time. They were stolen. They were stolen in Houston. Our house was broken into, and they were stolen. And
all three.
All three. And to me, I think that the only people that really want to wear those things are the ones that have never worn them or never won them. Once you win it, and it's about the players, it's about the people and the coaches. You don't need to wear a ring.
Are you going to
champion?
You're going to get replacements?
Nah, I don't know. What do I need? What do I need a replacement for? Everybody knows that the Patriots won the Super Bowl in 2001 and 2003 and 2004.
Yeah.
And they all know that I was on that team, so wouldn't wear them. I wouldn't. Nah.
That's a shame.
That's not what I'm about. I'm not about that. I don't want our players to want to win a championship so you get a ring. I want them to win a championship because of the experiences and the relationships that you build when guys like Richard Seymour and Willie McGinnis and Rodney Harrison and Teddy Bruschi and Roman Pfeiffer send you texts and you see them and they congratulate you and they call you. And that's what I want them to win a championship for.
Yeah, that's a shame that somebody stole it. Chris Mannix will join us on loan from Sports Illustrated. John in Louisiana joins us. Hey, John, what's on your mind?
Hey, Dan, how are you? I tell you what, I got to tell you, I'm been listening to Sports Talk Radio a long time. Everyone's fallen off the wayside. You're the only one left that I listen to. I think you're the best. I love the Dinettes. It's a show I look forward to every day. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not really that big on these lists thing they put out. But you just said something in the last segment that I just felt compelled to talk to. I grew up in Phoenix. I was 14 years old when the Suns were born. and an expansion team, and I've lived, as you well know, a pretty frustrating life as a lifelong Phoenix Suns fan. And when you said Isaiah should be ahead of Steve Nash simply because he hasn't won anything, I just took exception to that because I think you're a little too smart for that.
Well, no, John, here's the thing. I don't know what the criteria was. Is it winning? Is it statistics? Steve Nash was a wonderful player, but we seem to value winning on this list, but then Isaiah did win, but then you have John Stockton and Steve Nash ranked ahead of him. That's all. I don't know what we're basing this off of. If you said I could have Steve Nash and you have Isaiah or the other way around, that's fine. John Stockton, okay. I think Isaiah's getting punished here because this is recency bias of what happened in The Last Dance, the Jordan documentary. That's all, John. But thank you for the kind words that you had to say there. Oh, this list. I'm looking at the entire list here. 74 greatest players of all time by ESPN. What if I just said this is regular season? So winning didn't matter.
So it's playing ability.
Just playing ability. Does that change things? Because Bill Russell's not in the top 5, not in the top 10, not in the top 20. Might not even be on the list. But with the championships, that changes. The fact that Russell Westbrook Jr. III is ranked higher than Rick Barry is embarrassing. It is. I mean, Rick Barry could score with anybody. He won a title with one of the worst teams that ever went to the finals and won a title. Now I'm getting fired up here. Let me bring in Chris Mannix. This will calm me down. Hey, Mannix, how are you?
Hey, Dan.
Have you looked at this list? Do you care about this list?
Not especially, but listening to what you're saying, I'm sure I'll disagree because, I mean, look, no disrespect to the Russells and the Rick Barrys and the guys that played in that era. And you can certainly argue that if they benefit from the training of today's game, they'd be different and more improved players. But you're going to tell me that Rick Barry had any shot at doing anything with Russell Westbrook? Like, no way. Like, Russell Westbrook would eat him alive in any competition possible.
Well, no, we're not playing one-on-one here. What are you talking about? If that was Kareem would win this because he would back everybody down and score over them. It's not one-on-one.
Well, I dispute that too. I mean, okay, like Kareem, there's ways of winning one-on-one, but that's neither. I agree with your sentiment. Okay, but do you remember what Russell Westbrook did that first MVP year? Like, that team was bad, and Russell Westbrook went out and propelled them to 43, 44 wins after losing, arguably the best player in the game. Certainly one of the top 3 in Kevin Durant. I mean, that's a pretty impressive team accomplishment, Dan. To have
Look at the Golden State Warriors when they won the NBA title, Chris. If we're going to make this about Rick Barry and Russell Westbrook hasn't accomplished anything other than, hey, average a triple-double. Okay, great. He did it a couple of times. Great. If that's the case, James Harden's one of the top 15 players. I don't. Durant belongs up there. Russell Westbrook is a phenomenon. But he's one of the great players of all time that he's better than Rick Barry is silly. It is. It's silly.
You think if, you plopped Russell Westbrook onto those Rick Barry teams, they'd be worse?
We're arguing one against one here. Is Russell Westbrook one of the greatest athletes to ever play the game? Yes, he is. I'll give you that. Is he one of the greatest basketball players? I guess he's not better than Rick Barry. This doesn't have anything to do with, look at that physical specimen. I'm sure he's better than John Havlicek, your beloved Boston Celtics there. Who would you rather have, Russell Westbrook or John Havlicek?
It just depends on what your...
No, their careers.
It's hard.
Their careers?
Well, yeah. John Havlicek, because he won championships.
Okay.
But my argument is based on championships. And by the way, John Havlicek, pretty good selection of teammates he had around him for most of his career. That was a great team that he was a part of.
Russell Westbrook had James Harden and Kevin Durant, and they didn't want to stay in Oklahoma City.
Well, I mean, we can split hairs on like the hard. I mean, you really want to go back to Harden? Like, of course, he at the time he wanted to stay, he wanted to get paid, and privately, Oklahoma City officials will tell you that was the biggest mistake that they made, not maxing out James Harden and going into the luxury tax that year they offered him. That was a catastrophe. That had nothing to do.
All right,
with
we're getting off track here because
Well, hold on. Just one thing, Dan. One thing on this.
Okay.
Real quick. Like, accomplishments. There was a time when averaging a triple-double was like Joe DiMaggio's hitting streak. Like, there was a time when nobody was going to do what Oscar Robertson did. And then Russell Westbrook comes along and does it 3 times. Like, that's an incredible accomplishment.
he's the most ball-dominant player of all time. Now, him and Harden, the most ball. Are you trying to tell me if Magic wanted to average a triple-double, if Bird wanted to average a triple-double? Like, today's player is about stats. It's about, look at what I'm doing. Magic and Bird didn't give a damn. Are you trying to tell me LeBron is averaging a triple-double? Do you really think Larry Bird went, hey, how many assists do I need for a triple-double? Come on.
You don't think this year, Dan, it crossed LeBron's mind to average triple-double? You don't think he's leading the league in assists as the game stopped? He's over 10 per game.
No, I think it's leading the league in assists. I think that was important for him. Absolutely. But are you trying to tell me LeBron couldn't average a triple-double every single year?
He hasn't. Like what? Like you don't think he hasn't tried? Like you don't think that's been in his mind ever? Come on, let's get real. Like of course, LeBron's the guy that's been chafing at not winning MVPs over the year. I've talked to Laker teammates. I wrote a story about this a month ago where I've asked them does the MVP matter to LeBron? And to a man, they all say it did. So individual accomplishments and accolades, of course, they matter to him.
Well, yeah, they do. Of course, you want to win an MVP. I can understand that at his age. Yes. Absolutely. I understand that. That's no big secret. I don't know why. Why am I yelling at you?
You're going to sit there, though, Dan, and call. Look, I agree Russell Westbrook is ball dominant, but, he did spend most of his career playing with Kevin Durant, and that's another ball dominant player. So, it's not like he had that 1 year or a couple of years where he had to do literally everything. But beyond that, he did have to share responsibility with top-level players, including this past one.
Just look at what Rick Barry did when he won the title. Look at it. Look at his scoring days that he had when he was in the ABA and the NBA. He was one of the great passers of all time.
So Russell Westbrook can't pass when he averages more than 10
He's a ball-dominant player. He's I
agree
one
with
of the
that,
top 3 of all time. Look at the numbers. Ball-dominant. You got to do stuff with it.
Where does Kobe rank on that list of ball dominant players? Where does Michael rank on that list of ball dominant players? How many years?
Not like Russell Westbrook.
I agree, not like Westbrook. But let's not pretend there's this Grand Canyon-sized gap between these players as ball dominance.
You would rather have Kobe over Russell Westbrook. You'd rather have Mike over Russell Westbrook. I mean, come on.
Yes.
I don't want this to be about Russell Westbrook.
We're talking Rick Barry, though.
But I'm just saying he won. He won.
Okay. So didn't Bill Wennington's got 3 championships. Great.
Really? That's your comeback? You're better than that.
I'm just saying I am, but you can't say Rick Barry's better than Russell Westbrook because he won, because you haven't put Russell Westbrook on the teams that Rick Barry had.
Rick Barry is a better player, in my opinion. That's all. It's just my opinion. You see, I've seen the guys on the list. All right? I didn't see Mikan play, and I didn't see Bill Russell play. I've seen them all. And I can make an educated assessment of what I see with their games. Rick Barry was a spectacular player. I'll leave it at that. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings with Russell Westbrook Jr. III, who is, going to win a title, I'm sure, with the Rockets this year. By the way, does the team that wins the title this year get an asterisk by their name?
Not if the playoff format stays the same. And that was a takeaway from the Friday call with the players, that the NBA wanted to have a best of 7 beginning with round 1. I understand it'll be in a neutral location. I understand it'll be different. But if you maintain the integrity of the playoff length, no, there's no asterisk. No more than there would be an asterisk in the 99, 2000 season or any of the work stoppage seasons.
Yeah. I think the season has the asterisk. The team shouldn't be saddled with an asterisk. It's a level playing field for everybody here, like it or not. And I agree. Hey, we agreed on something there. Now, the likelihood of basketball returning, with what happened with the commissioner, with this phone call, was there an informal poll that was taken about coming back? So give us some details here on what's true and what's not.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, everything's true that you mentioned. There have been player representatives that have been informally polling players via text message to ask them if they wanted to continue with the season. Now, I talked to several players about this who basically said it's not as simple as yes or no. I mean, there's variables here. There's, what do you do with a positive test? What does the season look like? Where are we playing? Like, if you, in a fundamental way, yes, everybody wants to finish the season. Like, if for no other reason, they want to get paid. Like, and that's the biggest part of all this. But it was a strange poll to put out without having all the variables accounted for. I would say this: the other interesting piece of news that I don't think is getting enough attention is that the NBA in select cities is allowing for asymptomatic testing, and that to me is a significant moving of the goalposts on where the NBA initially, what they were telling me privately and other people privately, was where they thought they needed to be in order to start the season. Like, they thought initially it was like, we have to have testing that's just widely available, asymptomatic testing for whoever wants it. Basically, you can walk into a CVS and get tested symptomatic or not. We're clearly not there yet. But for the NBA to tell, I think it's Orlando and the two LA teams, I'm sure it's going to be many more in the days and weeks to come. But for them to say asymptomatic testing is okay right now in this current climate, that tells me that they're changing that criteria for what it needs to be when they come back.
I'm also wondering how far can they go into the calendar year here, Chris, with, how long do they stretch it out before it affects next season?
Oh, it's another good point, because that's another, probably the 1A takeaway I had in the last 4 or 5 days from these calls and information that's coming out. It's abundantly clear that the NBA and their owners don't give a damn about when they start next season. And if that's the case, you can keep kicking the can down the road. I mean, I know there was a report, and I haven't talked to anybody this morning about it yet, about 2 to 4 weeks they'll make a decision. That's the ultimate artificial deadline. I mean, if in 2 to 4 weeks they're not ready to make a decision, if they don't care when next season starts, and for obvious reasons, crowds, whatever, they really don't, they can say, well, we're going to push to mid-July, and even like August. Like, I have some players that firmly believe that they'll go into mid to late October with the season if they have to get it done. So with that knowledge in hand, that's what makes me feel even stronger today than I did last week, that they'll find a way to finish the season.
I didn't even get to the Jordan documentary, and we wasted all this time on the greatness of Rick Barry. Yeah.
Greatness of Russell Westbrook.
You know what? I know you're not doing anything. You're quarantined, probably in Vermont. Why don't you do some research on Rick Barry, and then you come back with a book report and apologize, okay?
I apologize not being chronologically old enough to have seen Rick Barry play. Like, my bad.
You know what? Why don't you be older, Chris? Good to talk to you.
All right, Dan.
Thank you. That's Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated senior writer.
All right, Dan.
See, this is what happens.
We woke him up for that.
Oh, he's woke now. That's for sure. We end up, denigrating people. This is what happens with these lists. This guy's better than this guy. I know, I did sound like the get off your lawn guy with Rick Barry. I saw Rick Barry play, and that team won a title. How much does that matter? He won a title. Yeah, Paul.
Is there a chance, again, I did not see Rick Barry play except for highlights, that Rick Barry and Russell Westbrook were similar players at their peak, where they were doing it all themselves and they really didn't have a lot of help, and one got a title and one didn't. But otherwise, they had similar careers a little bit.
Russ can't shoot.
He did score 31 points a game, though.
Yeah, but he can't shoot. In today's NBA, you can shoot as much as you want and you have the ball the whole time. Look, Rick Barry was a wonderful, wonderful shooter. One of the great free throw shooters of all time, a great passer there. I don't know. Let me take a break here. I need a TO. I need a timeout here. We'll take a break. Play of the Day's next.
Guys, this is the big one.
Uh-oh.
You know, I always do the national day calendar, and today is National Apple Pie Day. Fantastic day. Everyone loves apple pie. If you don't, don't want to hear about it. So I love apple pie so much. There's an apple pie festival. It's up in Dummerston, Vermont, little town. That's redundant. And they have all different types of apple pie. And I go there every year, and I skip breakfast, and I just see how much I could eat. And then I go home and collapse onto myself for a couple days. Now, the question here today is, if you were stuck on a desert island and could have one type of pie for the rest of your life, one choice, not two choices, apple pie or other, and what is the other? I'm sticking with apple pie. I've flirted with some others, but I won't go there. Blueberry's good. Dan, you're going to go last. Todd, I'm going to go to you first.
I think I'm going to lean towards blueberry pie.
Which one are you going to pick, though?
I'm going to pick blueberry pie. Since I'm leaning towards it, I'm going to go full in on blueberry pie.
There you go. All right, Andrew.
Wow. I'm going to go apple.
There you go. Don't screw it up. Seton.
Jeepers creepers.
This is it.
I'm gonna go key lime.
Wow.
Because you're on a desert island, and it's
because I'm on a desert island. That's
Okay.
what I'm gonna want.
That's good reasoning. I like the reasoning there. Key lime pie is very good. Very refreshing in the summer. Dan?
Don't you mean dessert island?
I am going pumpkin pie.
Nice.
Yeah, going pumpkin.
Okay.
I think pumpkin pie gets an unfair label.
And it gets pigeonholed in that October, November.
Yeah, what's wrong with pumpkin pie in the spring?
That's not when pumpkins grow.
Yeah, but I could freeze it and then bring it back.
That's not when pumpkins grow, so that's you're not.
Does your pie choice change based on whether there's ice cream involved?
Well, that wasn't part of there was no a la mode.
I'm just asking, if it was an a la mode, would all of a sudden you
Yeah.
pick a different pie?
And I can use canned pumpkin.
Not on my watch, mister.
Well, I can. I can.
Can,
I see.
Yeah.
We're going to get a lot of response to this.
Well, it's going to take over the
This
show.
is huge.
Yeah, this is great.
We got to work in sports, so how many pieces of apple pie did Michael Jordan have when he won 6 titles?
He served up humble pie.
Oh,
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
Put a bow on it.
We found it.
Never too early. Never too early.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
found it.
Yeah. Your favorite Tom Brady story?
Somebody asked me that, I think in preseason, someone did a story. So I went down. They said, hey, you're going to play tight end. I said, okay, sweet. What do I do? They said, study these plays and, get open and catch the ball. And we're at practice, and I must have come what I felt like was open, and I'm yelling and waving my arms, Tommy, Tommy, Tommy. And I come back to the huddle, and I'm thinking, man, what's going on? And he said, Mikey, if you ever yell my name again, I will never throw you the effing ball again. I said, okay, good shape.
But he did throw it to you 12 times. I mean, you have 12 catches.
He had no other choice.
Okay, explain this to me, though, Coach. At what point does the defense go, oh, Vrabel's in the game, and he's got 8 touchdown receptions, and he's been targeted 8 times? Like, how did people not realize Vrabel's in the game? He's probably getting the ball.
Well, there's other plays. I think that's what people don't realize is that there's actually other plays than the one where I went out for a pass. We ran the ball in when I was in there. We ran, not behind me, of course, but we ran it. We ran routes where I was covered or people, whatever. And we threw to other guys. Daniel Graham scored. We threw to Tom Ashworth, was an offensive tackle. He scored. Heath Evans scored. We threw passes to Christian Fourier and all these other tight ends, and guys scored. And then when I was open or the route was there, that's where Tom threw it.
I can't believe that you'd actually say, Tommy, I'm open.
I was screaming. I was waving. I didn't know. I just thought, hey, when you're open. I was like, well, I saw Randy Moss put his hand up, and you threw it to him.
I think it's a little different when Randy does it than you do.
Yeah, I guess so. I found that out real quick.
Oh, my God.
The play of the day.
Runner left side, got it! Ready to play it and play it.
This is the play of the day. Check this out.
Solanke. Record breaker! 32 Premier League goals in a 38-game season. That is a new Premier League record.
That's courtesy of NBCSN. Mo Salah. 38-game Premier League season. He had 32 goals. That year, he also ended Harry Kane's two-season run as the Premier League's top goal scorer.
Look at you.
Premier League is coming back, right? No fans?
Yeah, they got to give Liverpool their trophy.
Because if they don't come back, is there an asterisk by Liverpool's name, Paulie?
It's funny. Liverpool fans were so far ahead this season. Everyone back in like February is like, "Hey, congratulations! I went in the league. It's over. Nothing's gonna stop you now." And I remember saying to people, "There's always a way. There's always a way Liverpool will not win." And,
Mo Salah. Play of the day brought to you by Traeger. You got to join the Traeger hood. Traeger wood-fired grills make it easy to create incredible flavor, whether you're barbecuing brisket, baking bread. Join the community today. Contact your local dealer or head to TraegerGrills.com/DP show. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to hear from people saying, I can't believe what you said about such and such. I'm guilty of it. I am. I hate it, but I'm guilty of it. Gary in Las Vegas. Hey, Gary, what do you have for me today?
I think I'm supposed to say 5'7", 135 pounds.
Okay.
Anyway, or I could say 6'6", 240, but it is 5'7", 135. Okay. Listen here, man. I'm a long-time listener. I really love your show. It helps get me through the mornings, especially these last couple of months.
Give me the butt, Gary. Give me the butt.
My brother. Bill Russell is not a top 10 player. Let me just say this. Have you ever seen the videotape of Russell grabbing a rebound, full speed, dribbling the ball up the court, and literally leaping over a front court defender, leaping over him and dropping the ball in the basket? The dude won 11 championships on great teams. He won 2 championships in college. Red Auerbach certainly understood. He was the heart, soul, glue, and greatest
Absolutely.
player on
But
that team.
But I'm Gary, I understand it. He was, you can say he had the greatest career. He's not a top 10 player. He's just not. And thank you for the phone call. Thank you for your honesty with your height and weight. Bill Russell was a limited offensive player. He was brilliant defensively. He understood the team concept as well as anybody. And that's why he's on these lists. He won every place he went. It wasn't a coincidence. He understood the game. He had a great coach, and he had great players around him, too. You know, at one point, I think he had 8 Hall of Famers on the roster. Guys didn't even start, became Hall of Famers. And look, you get into this, and then all of a sudden I'm criticizing Bill Russell. Like, who am I to criticize Bill Russell? Other than I'm just assessing the talents that he had. If I took away what you did in the postseason and made this just about the regular season, what would this list look like? I mean, the postseason, Dominique Wilkins never won anything. If I make this the regular season, does that change anything? Is it just talent? You know, Chris Mannix was trying to argue Russell Westbrook's talent. He's probably one of the most top 10 most athletic players I've ever seen. Love watching him play. He's just not Rick Barry. All right. Mike Vrabel, Titans head coach, will join us coming up. More phone calls on this as well. 1 hour in the books. 2 more to go. Dan Patrick Show. Can you be one of the great pitchers of all time if you're not good enough to be a starting pitcher? You know, John Smoltz was a great starting pitcher and a great closer. There are not many John Smoltzes, and that's why Smoltz is in the Hall of Fame. But Mo was not a great starter, and he turned out to be maybe the greatest reliever of all time. And I feel a little bit bad, as strange as this is going to sound for Lee Smith, because I've been saying that Lee Smith is a Hall of Famer. Lee Smith, old school closer, come in. What do you want me to do? What do you need me to do? I'm not on any pitch count. What do you want me? You want me to go 2 innings? And Lee Smith was a great closer. But you're going in with Mariano Rivera, and then all of a sudden you're going to match his numbers with your numbers, because we don't have relievers who go in at the same time. This is the first time that's ever happened. And Lee Smith stands alone with his numbers as a Hall of Famer. But then you put him up against Mariano Rivera, then it's not fair. Yes, Paul.
Is it fair to say Mariano Rivera is the greatest closer of all time? Pretty fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have his career or Greg Maddux's? Maddux is a very high-end pitcher, bunch of Cy Youngs, not the greatest pitcher of all time, but he's in the conversation of great pitchers of all time.
I'd rather have Maddux's career.
Is it close?
Yeah, it's close. It depends on, do you want to be the greatest closer, the best at your...
The best.
Yeah, the best at your position. Maddux had 350 wins. How many Cy Youngs did he have?
4 in a row.
Now, he didn't win like Mariano Rivera did, but I would rather be the guy who went out there and was pitching 7 or 8 innings, not just 1 inning. Yeah, McLovin.
I'd go Mariano for the rings. That was my immediate reaction. Yeah, I think that's a great poll, by the way.
Yeah, if you're talking about your career and you're talking about how many rings you have.
But it's all part of the same conversation, I think, what Paulie's saying.
Yeah, but they both won. Now, Maddux did get one. He didn't finish without one.
But he was a disappointment in the postseason.
Yes.
That's one of the first things you think of him in playoffs.
Yeah, but Mariano Rivera, if you look at those 2 moments against the Red Sox and against Arizona, he failed. I just look at Maddux, that you did it, and as you mentioned, you're going through the lineup a couple of times. Maddux won, 354 games? He did not have the postseason success of Mariano Rivera. And if Rivera doesn't have the postseason success, then this isn't a conversation at all. Mariano would have been a great regular season closer without the opportunity to pitch in the World Series. Maddux was a sub-500 pitcher in the postseason, I believe. So was Tom Glavitt. They're pitchers who were just great postseason pitchers. But Maddux, when the lineup, and you're facing a team a couple of times, and it always felt like, they solved Greg Maddux. Whereas Mariano, it's usually 1 inning. That's it. He probably didn't pitch 2 innings too many times, or even more than, 3 outs. Mariano's a magical person, with that career and what he did and how he did it. But I would take Greg Maddux's career, because it felt like he was going to be there every 5th day, and to have 354 wins. No, he's not the greatest pitcher of all time, but Mariano Rivera was the greatest closer. He pitched 1 inning, and he was great in those 1 innings. But Maddux, to me, that's more of a pitcher.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Dan Patrick.
They have to have a contingency plan. Sam Smith, the author of The Jordan Rules, what did the documentary not capture?
You know, to me, it's sort of like based on a true story. You know, like we see a lot of these movies. I think everything they're talking about basically happened, but elements of it get forgotten about. You know, like when he provoked the Pistons into that walkout.
Joined by the four Danettes every weekday for the best in sports talk.
And he just eviscerates this two-time champion, three-time finals team as unworthy. The NBA should take away their trophies. And that's really what motivated him to do this. It wasn't this walkout that, this revisionist history the Pistons came up with later.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
We're still talking about Michael Jordan.
This is Dan Patrick.
Hour 2 on this Wednesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. I vow to be more professional this hour than I was last hour. I actually growled on the air, I believe. ESPN came out with its list of the top 74 players of all time in NBA history. Yes, they got to me. If that was their goal, they got to me. Oh, 877-3DP Show. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle DP Show. You can watch and you can listen on the Fox Sports Radio lineup. 362 radio affiliates around America. And youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. Chat Row T-shirts. We have 8 T-shirts for you to vote on. And then we will have our winner, the Chat Row T-shirt. We'll have that for you coming up on Friday. But you're going to be voting at danpatrick.com. Report came out yesterday. The NBA Players Association sent out a poll to the players. One simple question. Do you want to play this season? And it sounds simple. You would think everybody wants to play. I don't know if everybody wants to play. I don't know if every team, every owner wants to play. The monetary issues, I don't know if everybody wants to play. NBA players aren't like us. Obviously, they're more gifted, they're taller, and a lot richer. But in many ways, they're facing the same dilemmas we have. We tend to look at our athletes and say, well, they're impenetrable. Hey, football players can come back and play. They're football players. It's not that easy. We want all of this to happen. We hope all of this happens. The NBA and other leagues can come up with all the plans they want. And you should have contingency plans. I get it. It doesn't mean you're able to execute this. These are very smart people, but there are some very smart people who are looking at this coronavirus and giving you their assessment. I don't care what the NCAA says. Hey, we want to have college football. Who doesn't want to have college football? And then you have the state of California. They've extended the stay at home. Now, that's going to affect your college football teams. If you go back to the draft or the schedule, when it was released in the NFL, I said keep an eye on the California teams. The Rams and the Chargers, if they can't play in Los Angeles, if the 49ers can't play in the Bay Area, could they go to Denver? Does somebody go to Vegas? Does somebody go to Arizona and you share the stadium with those teams? This is what's being talked about here. And it's probably going to happen. And I wonder about college football with the Pac-12. And I know that we had the commissioner on yesterday, Larry Scott. He can say what he wants. You're not going to have students on campus with these California state schools. You're not having football. And what's that mean? And is the SEC is going to go on? Are they going to play games? Their commissioner backed off of that a little bit. And, they want to be unified here. What about the Big 12? ACC? Big 10? We want it to happen. That doesn't mean it will happen. And there's a big difference, and we have to understand that when we hear this news. Because I'm just like you. I'll hear some news and go, oh, come on. But you can't have that reaction. I mean, that's not real. And, it's real that's how I feel, but it's not in a real world. We're in a vacuum. When Dr. Fauci, who is the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, says needless suffering and death if the United States prematurely opens portions of the country amid the coronavirus pandemic. Okay, he has a title. This is what he does for a living. And he's talking about this in front of a Senate committee yesterday. He hinted that those hoping for a standard college football schedule this fall should pump the brakes. That's him. It's not me. It's not anybody else who's giving you information or opinion or hope. Dr. Fauci said, as things stand on May 12th, he doesn't envision students being protected by a vaccine or treatment for the fall school terms. Okay, if that's the case, are we having college football? Are we starting on time? I wondered if the NBA season would be salvaged. I said it wouldn't, but that was 2 months ago when I said it. With college football, I said I can't see us starting on time. It's not that I don't want it to happen. I'm just being realistic about this. And there are states where you probably go, we don't need gloves. We don't need face masks. We don't need any of this. What's the big deal? It's the other schools in other cities that are affected by this that will affect the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and college football. The NCAA president, Mark Emmert, said he believes fall sports won't occur at schools where students can't return to campuses. Now, I don't put any credibility in what Mark Emmert has to say as the head of the NCAA. This is about the commissioners of the Power 5 conferences. Mark Emmert is just a liaison. ESPN and the Power 5 commissioners, that's all you need to know. Fox Sports, I'm sure, has a word in this as well. But the Power 5 conference commissioners, they remain committed to college football starting on time. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, who we had on last week, he explained that he and other conference executives have to be prepared to adapt to a sports landscape that's ever-changing. It is. Every day it feels like. What's new? The California state system happened yesterday. They're going to stay online, leaving fall sports pretty much hanging in the balance here. So you got 23 California state universities. They're going to have virtual learning this fall. San Jose State, San Diego State, Fresno State, you're not playing football. They're members of the Mountain West Conference. It's not going to happen. And it feels like, we're just going to will our way. We're going to force our way back. It just doesn't work that way. There's laws you have to abide by. And I'm right there with you. Do I want it to happen? Yes. Do I want fans in this? Yes, we all want the same thing. It's when can we do it? When is it smart to do it? It feels like we celebrate when you say, hey, the numbers are down, only 600 died yesterday. Like, just let that sink in. And then you're going to have your students go back because they are students, remember? The NCAA want us to know they're student athletes. If they're just athletes, they don't have to go to class. You're just playing football. But if students are going back, these football players going back, I mean, they're not immune to this. Hey, they're big and strong. Oh, okay. What about the coaches? I mean, factor this. Let's say the NBA goes back. Greg Popovich at his age. Jim Boeheim, college basketball. Mike Krzyzewski, older assistant coaches. So you can say, well, you got those young kids, and they're strong, and they should be able to, handle the coronavirus. Maybe they can. Hopefully they can. You got a lot of coaches, managers. If you're over the age of 60, 65, now you're more susceptible. I mean, there's just so many things to factor in. And, yes, it's unfortunate we're not going to start on time. Yes, it's unfortunate we had seasons interrupted. But I'd rather learn from this year that helps us when we go into next year. And that we don't have something where we look back upon and say what we should have done or why didn't we do something. That's all. Am I overly cautious? Yes, I am. And I'll remain that way. I know when people say, well, what about the economy? I'm not rooting against us. I mean, I'm not rooting against the economy. I just want to make sure we understand. We keep thinking that all of a sudden, if the sports leagues come back, then everybody gets to come back. And that's not necessarily the case. They're going to take special guidelines, precautions to come back. We may not have those available to us. And do you want to go to a game? And getting sports back doesn't jumpstart the economy. The economy jumpstarts the economy because we're not going to a game. You're not buying tickets. You're not traveling. Concessions. You're going to watch on TV. You're watching on TV now. You're just watching games from 20 years ago. In our minds, it helps us. And it does. There are times watching UFC, watching NASCAR this weekend. Golf's coming up. I mean, I'm just like you. I want it. I hope for it. But I have to be realistic. We're not better than anybody else right now when it comes to this. We're all vulnerable. And that gets lost on people. Yeah, Paul.
I'm not playing devil's advocate, but just to look at the other side of this, and I have friends who are small business owners, and they are hanging by a thread. And month to month, they pay their rent and they pay their costs, and they trying to keep employees paid. And they're just, I have a friend of mine who's a small business owner. He goes, I'm more worried about being homeless than getting sick.
Well, no, but
that's just one guy who's talking, and he even said, he goes,
But what do you do about it?
Well, in his state, they are opening businesses for patio service.
Well, if it's safe and you feel comfortable, then go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
And different businesses have different priorities and different amount of funds to weather the storm. And that's what's really tough is a small business owner out there who is more worried about the next check or the next house payment.
Oh, no, I understand that. I sympathize. I mean,
and I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong. It's more so that there's in different areas of the country, there's different priorities and different settings where, being out of business for another month means being out of business.
Yeah, but I'm not. I sympathize. It's not like I go, boy, hey, sorry, you're going out of business. You still have to be smart with what you're doing, and if you're allowed to push the guidelines a little bit, great. Survival of the fittest. We make it a point that we try to do takeout service twice a week from local restaurants. Just you can't go there. We'd normally go there. We can't. You try to help, and it's easy for me to sit here because I'm getting paid to still do my job. But it's not like I don't have friends who do have a small business or do have a restaurant, and they can't do this, and that is painful. But I gather the information. That's all I do, folks. I just gather it, and I try to be fair with what I dispense to you, and my thoughts on this. Now, I don't like saying the Pac-12's in trouble. 2 weeks ago, I said the Pac-12's in trouble here. Well, you heard Larry Scott yesterday, the commissioner, got a little testy with me. And I said, hey, this is just my information. What I'm hearing, best case scenario, Pac-12, just conference games. I don't think the Pac-12 is playing football. And it's certainly not on schedule. And is it going to be in the spring? I don't know. Iowa's going to start practicing soon. There's no commissioner of college football. These are uncharted waters. And as much as we say, let's go back. Come on, we got to go back. I want us to. I hope we do. But then you got to be prepared for what happens if you do. And we're not ready. That's my biggest concern here. We do force our way back or we push it. Are we ready for whatever happens after that? Because you got to be ready for that. And that's the stark reality of all of this. And look, am I too close to it? You can say that. We're not very far from New York City. And we hear about it, we read about it more. I have friends who live in Arizona. Friend plays golf every day. Doesn't wear a mask. No gloves, doesn't care. Hey, no big deal. He goes, I can't relate to you. I said, well, they have body bags that are stacked up in semi-trailers, semi-truck trailers. So that's the reality of what it is here. Not the same in every place. I get that. I understand that. You want to play football in Starkville? Great. You want to play in Oxford? Great. I just don't know if you're going to have... I don't know if the SEC is going to play football if not everybody's playing football. Is the Big Ten going to do that? Big 12. Pac-12 is not going to be able to do it. So it's the new abnormal, as I've said before. Trying to figure all of this out. But make no mistake about it. I want sports to come back. We need it to come back. but it's got to come back when we allow it to come back, when it's ready to come back. NASCAR is perfect. No fans. There's no contact. Fans don't factor into the race at all. The cars make noise. There's no noise from the fans. If basketball comes back and there's no fans, I'm okay with it. Golf, no galleries. I'm okay with it. Baseball, no fans. I'm okay with it. When we have it where everybody says, now it's safe, great. Let's go watch some baseball. Let's go to a tailgate. All in favor. And it'll be a hell of a time when we do. But until then, I'm just listening to the people who are way above my pay grade tell me what's going on. That's all. Nick in Arizona joins us. Hi, Nick. What do you have for me today?
Hey, DP. 6 feet, 200. Also want to say this is a big deal for me. 10-time caller right here. So
Nice.
love life right now.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. Love the show. So I wanted to mention, being here in Arizona, Governor Ducey just opened up pretty much everything, and it's business as usual here. But yeah, he said that on Saturday that pro sports can start here, and just want to get your thoughts and think it's kind of crazy.
Well,
So,
it can start there. Thank you, Nick. It can start, but can everybody else get there? So the teams from California or, what sports? So yeah, in that pocket, in that vacuum, yeah, sports can come back. Can teams travel? What happens? What precautions are there? Fans go to the game? I don't know. I don't know what that means. We're open for business. I don't know. Wayne in Arkansas. Hey, Wayne.
Hi, Dan. I wanted to call and actually say, and this is kind of a weird thing to happen at this year, I wanted to thank you over the last 2 years making me an NFL fan for the first time in my life. I grew up with Atlanta. No expectations at all. We had Bartkowski, great quarterback. No one could catch at the ball.
Okay.
And then I've also lived in Phoenix, and who cares? And Tampa Bay. I just Tampa Bay this year.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we turned you on to some football there, Wayne, and we'll continue to do so. Let me take a break. Jimmy in Chicago, and then we'll take a break. Mike Vrabel, Titans head coach. I got to ask him about that draft day setup that he had with his family, because Vrabel was great. Hey, Jimmy.
How's it going, Dan?
Hey, bud.
Just wanted to ask you about the ESPN list, who your greatest player is, and also who your favorite player was. I know you mentioned Pistol Pete in the past, and how do you think he would fare in today's game?
All right, well, I'm going to take a break on that, Jimmy. Give that some thought, and we'll come back. I'll give you the answer on that, and my favorite player, and who do I think is the best player of all time. 18 after the hour, we'll talk some football with Mike Vrabel, the Titans, coming up next here. More phone calls as well. 19 after the hour. This is the Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time, like your email, your Instagram, but what about checking something important as your credit? Discover makes it quick and easy, and best of all, it's free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores. The score is used by 90% of top lenders, and they're doing that for free, even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit. You can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard is free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Once again, that's the Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. Weren't you a football player? Were you a football player in high school?
I was in high school.
Were you any good?
I was all right. I was the captain. The year
My brother, I had an older brother, and we were undefeated. We won like 32 games in a row, and we also had a school that was 100 students, and we also had a soccer team. So it was like really exceptional, and there were girls too, and so it was really exceptional for the football team to be good. But it was just a short stretch where it was really good. And that was because there were a bunch of families that had like 2 kids. So like me and my brother I was the center and he was the tackle. We were both the defensive ends. And then 2 other brothers one was a tight end and one was the wide receiver and one was a quarterback and one was a running back. It was like 4 families were the whole team. But yeah, no, football was a big thing. I mean,
And do you root for the Colts?
I do root for the Colts, but I can't do the commit. I mean, I played football. You're showing that Purdue thing. I walked on there and I ended
Look
up
at that
quitting.
hair.
I know, that was nice back then.
You were golden boy.
I had hair and I was in
you don't
shape.
do steroids anymore.
Not anymore.
Okay.
Not anymore.
All right.
And but it was just too much of, so like after there was like probably 4 or 5 years where I didn't watch football at all. After I quit, I was like, I can't deal with it. And then I enjoy it, but it's a commitment also when you have children. I do, there's also, it's keeping up with all the information. I know this is what you guys do all the time, but I'm like, I can't. Like I was hanging around, I was talking to Seinfeld last night. He's watching the Mets game.
Name dropping right there.
Well, that's the whole thing.
Well done.
It's like I grew up listening. I knew all the baseball players. Now I couldn't name 2 Mets. I couldn't name 2 Mets players.
Because you have kids.
Well, I think that, and I'm just, I don't know, lazy.
Would you rather your kids got into sports or comedy?
Ooh, that's a good point. I think sports was really important for keeping me out of trouble. So, yeah, I would say sports.
Because comedy it's supposed to be the hardest thing, right? Well, is it the hardest thing?
I don't know if it's the hardest thing. It's just the entertainment industry it's such a fluke. All of us sitting in here, we're in the entertainment industry and we have these amazing jobs, but it is in a way a fluke. Like there's hundreds of people that would love to do what we do. But it's this strange navigation thing where it's like, I always talk about like Dead Poet Society, like there was the evil dad who was like, don't go into acting. It's like now I look at that dad and I'm like, he was right. Do you know what I mean? It's like the odds are really small.
Wait, the kid who killed himself.
Right?
Yeah, his dad.
His dad was a good guy.
A little dark there, Jim.
His dad was a good guy.
He was.
Yeah, he was right.
Did you almost quit?
No, I didn't. I kind of resigned myself. There was a couple of years where I was like, all right, I guess I'm the weird uncle that does stand up, that lives in a dirty apartment, and at least I get to do what I like, but yeah, no, I didn't really see, because there was an enjoyment coming up with new jokes, and there is that feedback of doing stand up.
Do you know that there's one joke you can always go to? Let's say you've had 2 that fall, they fall flat. Then you just go, all right, I'll go through the Rolodex and I can come back with a hammer.
Well, you're always working on new material. So when I'm doing my longer theater shows, I usually will either do an encore or end with this chunk, this like 7 or 8 minute chunk on Hot Pockets that will kind of clean it up.
Dan Patrick Show brought to you by Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. All new GT 4-door coupe, because life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you miss any interview from the Man Cave, go to the Dan Patrick Show app. Watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG driving performance. Check in with Mike Vrabel, the Titans, coming up. McLovin just sent me a trivia question from a fan. Steve Nash is one of 2 players in NBA history to have been named the regular season MVP and not to ever play in an NBA championship game. Is that right, McLevin?
That was a question. That was a question from a fan on Twitter. I have no idea who the answer is.
I don't either. And I'll give you my basketball thoughts there coming up. But Mike Vrabel is the head coach of my Tennessee Titans. They, of course, lost to the Chiefs in the AFC championship game and had a great season. Coach, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you? I hope everybody's staying safe and being healthy.
What are you benching nowadays, Coach?
Man, it's all push-ups. It's all push-ups and sit-ups, Peloton. That's it.
Really?
I lift enough, man. I got Tyler's at BC. He's offensive lineman, so he's one doing lifting, and I'm trying to stay in that dad bod club.
Do you ever miss hitting somebody?
Yeah. I mean, I think you miss the contact of football. And I think that's why I enjoy getting out there with the players and trying to teach and develop those guys on the field.
How do you keep in touch with your players?
Right now, we just using the teamwork apps, sending text messages, and really the way that we have the meetings scheduled through the Zoom. I can walk. It's like I'm walking out of my office. I walk in the O-line meeting at 10. I hang out there and see those guys, visit with that group. That's probably one of my favorite groups, just because of the types of personalities that they have in there and the bond that they have. And then I'll go in and pop in the DB meeting after that, visit with those guys and kind of work my way around, see the quarterbacks and receivers at noon, outside linebackers after that, and inside linebackers, D-line goes at 11:30. So it's been pretty cool. We've been able to structure those meetings, and the players set the schedule that they wanted to meet, and the coaches are available.
How about the workouts for these players if they don't have a facility to go to?
I think it's important that everybody stays self-motivated during this time. It's not something that we're trying to track. We're trying to be conscious of guys' weight. There's 2 types of players when you think about our football team or anybody's team that maybe they have to concentrate on not being overweight at this time, maybe a bigger lineman. But then some of these players that have to concentrate on keeping their weight up. And so really, I think they're working. I think that the guys are staying self-motivated. They're getting together. They're communicating with our strength coach, but we're not monitoring those workouts.
Let's talk about the virtual draft, the setup at the house.
At the frat house.
Who scripted that?
I don't think anybody was scripted. I think what happened was the kids were excited like everybody else was, and we got a full house. Where Jen and I are here, and Tyler's 19, Jackson's 19, and he's been with us for a year and a half, and Carter's 18, and he's graduating. So it's like lit, and obviously me, it's like a frat house. And I never was in a fraternity at Ohio State, but I can only imagine that this is what it would look like. And so I think when they saw that the kids were on the screen, they wanted to do something fun. They wanted to be a part of it. Next thing I know, I look around, there's a Vrabel jersey from a Pro Bowl. There's a Frozone costume. And again, these guys, I love them to death. They support me. And they just, they were having fun with it.
You kind of stole the draft there for a little bit, because I wasn't sure what was going on.
I certainly wasn't quite sure what was going on either. But they're good kids, and they're trying to keep their rooms clean and their cars clean and all that other stuff.
And then Belichick had his dog there.
I didn't even know Bill had a dog, but he doesn't strike me as a dog lover.
I was doing some research here. Brady's first career start, that was against the Colts, and you were his teammate. You remember that?
Yeah. 2001.
Yeah, you guys shut down Peyton Manning. Brady's last start with the Patriots, the wild card game, and you're the winning coach there. How weird was that? Did you have any sense that was the last time Tom was going to play for the Patriots?
I wasn't really focused on that. I was trying to focus on preparing our team to go into a place in January that, not too many teams had won. I think they were 20-3 in the playoffs at home.
But looking back on that now.
Tom and I have a unique relationship, having played with him and been his teammate, being friends, and then obviously competing against them. I think it's a unique relationship. he had a great, phenomenal career there, and obviously still wants to play football.
Was he in play at all for the Titans?
Anybody that was available in free agency is available for the Titans. I think that John and I talk about that all the time, is finding ways to improve our team.
Well said. Did you recruit him?
Thank you, Dan. No, you don't. This isn't college football. We draft them and we pay them. This isn't college football where you have to recruit and be on Twitter and all that other stuff.
Well, I think Brady recruited the Buccaneers. It sounds like he was, when I talked to Bruce Arians, it felt like Brady was saying, hey, I want to come there. I'm coming there, basically. Like a kid commits to going to college. It felt like that's what he was doing with Tampa.
Well, I think that looks like he's settled in pretty well down there. I saw his house, and I'm waiting for this thing to be done so I'm going to go visit him and play some golf.
I wanted to ask you, and you told this story a couple of years ago, that I think you made the mistake of saying to Tom in the huddle that you were open, and I'd
gone out for a run. I'd been over on offense for like a week, and so they throw me in there, and I run this route. I'm in the back of the end zone. I'm like, Tom. And I come back in the huddle, and I was like, I was wide open. He goes, Mikey, if you ever raise your hands at me again, I'll never throw you the ball. He's like, I'm the quarterback. I know who's effing open. I was like, well said. I got the point. I'm like, Randy always raises his hand. You throw it to him all the time.
Randy Moss is allowed to raise his hand. You weren't allowed to. And did you keep those footballs? What do you have, 10 touchdown receptions?
Again, 12 if you count the Super Bowls. So that's something that obviously was really cool. But the thing that you saw on draft night, like my kids would take those footballs from the Super Bowl and we'd go back to Ohio and they'd be outside playing football. And it'd be like, I don't have any football. There's no jerseys. There's nothing up. Like I'm concentrated on being the best coach I can. I love our players. I miss them to death. I'm not concentrated on, what my career was. That's not going to help us.
Oh, no, I just didn't know if you had those footballs.
No, I couldn't tell you. We've been through 4 or 5 houses since then. It's usually if the rule is if it stays in a box more than 2 moves, it gets thrown out or gets taken.
Wow. How would you do if Derrick Henry was coming through the line?
I would go low. It would be low. I would be low, and I'd look for the stiff arm if I wasn't low.
Who does he remind you of with that style?
I don't know. I mean, I played bigger backs. Jerome Bettis was a bigger back. Eddie George is probably a close comparison just because of the length. Eddie was as a taller back. Jerome was much more compact. He's just very long, and he's fast in the open field. He runs away from a lot of people, and our guys love blocking for him. I love coaching him. He's done a lot of great things for us.
Jerome Bettis would tell me stories. He said that he would hear defensive players grunt or groan after they tackled him because it was just like he knew he was inflicting pain on you.
I mean, he had to be when I was finishing up in Pittsburgh, he had to be 275. I don't know who was bigger, him or Levon Kirkland.
And this is a running back.
His calves look like grapefruits.
Oh, man. Yeah, I can't imagine. There are guys who, they get small sometimes when those big guys come through the line and then all of a sudden you kind of fall down or, that somebody got an arm on you and you can't get to the running back.
It's trying to get those guys before they get going, because if they build up a head of steam, if they get through the line, somebody's had a bad day.
It's great to talk to you, Coach, and congrats on the success last year, and hopefully we figured this out at some point, but thank you for joining us.
Well, I certainly appreciate you guys following the Titans. Stay safe out there, guys. Stay healthy.
That's Mike Vrabel, and I don't know if Tom was in play there with the Titans. Probably so, as Coach said. You're a free agent. Everybody's in play there. Would have been interesting. I do love that story that here's Vrabel, who's a defensive player, and he thinks he's open in the end zone, and he goes back to tell Tom.
How does a guy like him have 10 touchdown receptions? The defense didn't figure out when he's lining up in those goal line things that, hey, guess what? They're actually going to throw to him.
I asked him about that the last time he was on. I said, look, if you came into the game, I'm figuring you're probably getting the ball. You had 10 regular season touchdown receptions, and I think you caught 2 in the Super Bowl. Yeah, Paul.
His career stat line is fantastic on the offensive end. 10 receptions, 14 yards, 10 touchdowns. The longest touchdown catch was 2 yards. 10 for 10.
I always thought Vrabel would be great for Hard Knocks, but Jay Glazer tells me that Vrabel would be too vulgar for Hard Knocks. Now, he grew up in Ohio, I think outside of Toledo, Ohio State Buckeye, and then you play with the Patriots, and now you see these coaches, and you can see a team that is in the shape of that or the form or personality of that coach. And you get that with the Tennessee Titans. It's like, hey, there's no BS. Here we go. Run. We're coming straight at you right now. Yeah, Paul.
But he's another one of those guys who started his career out of Ohio State and went to Pittsburgh and didn't really play much. And then he got picked. Patriots do this with a lot of different guys. Remember Rodney Harrison? They resurrected him. Vrabel, they resurrected. A lot of these good but not great players, they took them and had the best years of their life.
I think that's the brilliance of Belichick, because I don't think he's considered an above-average drafter. I think he's really good at sensing the chemistry of that guy and how does he fit into our system. And he saw Rodney Harrison with the Chargers, and he just said, I love the way you play. That was it. Rodney, is on the kickoff team, and he's getting knocked out on kickoffs. And, he was a tough guy, and Belichick loved Rodney Harrison. I think he wanted to make Rodney a coach, an assistant coach with the Patriots. He loved him that much. And understandably so. Like, you're around Rodney, and Rodney's all business. He's going to get the job done somehow, some way. All right, some phone calls here. Chris in West Virginia. Hi, Chris. What do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
First, here in West Virginia, being in the Big 12, I don't know how we're going to do college football if there's no travel. They just want us to take buses. I mean, a couple years ago, we almost doubled the second team there in the conference or in the nation for miles traveled. Second, the fans need to know, when do we see Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 come back for the Dinettes? And, what's the schedule look like there, and who's the most important coming back?
Oh, all right. Well, Chris trying to stir it up there a little bit. I left it open to the Dinettes. You come back when you feel safe. Anybody want to announce anything? Any time frame here that I should be aware of? All righty then. Yes, McLovin.
I was just talking to the homebound Dinettes. We have a big adjustment to make when we come to the studio. I don't know if we should share this all, but on Zoom.
I'll just say this, Andrew. If you're going where I think you're going, it'll take over the show for a little while.
I think it's worth it, though. See, can we do this?
I'll back you. I'll support you in this because I know it's important for. I think especially in this being one of the homebound Dinettes that I support you.
So
how about I take a break?
Yeah. You should take a break.
Because you guys who are quarantined there can talk amongst yourselves to make sure that quarantiners. Fritzy, are you going to be involved in this?
It's news to me, whatever they're about to say, but I'd like to think I'll support whatever they're thinking. I'm the most immunocompromised, if that's the right phraseology. So before I go all in on whatever they're going to say, I need to take that into consideration.
All right. Well, let's take a break. Then we'll come back. More phone calls as well. Is this a bombshell? See,
you might say that.
And now we go to the newsroom.
No, after the break. All right. Oh, God. We'll come back after this. What's your favorite crazy story?
I mean, I think one of my stories where I was just hard-headed, I was super hard-headed, super dysfunctional, super immature, super stupid. Super stupid.
Well, give me a story that you like a rookie year story that you would tell the kids.
I remember my first practice. I had a fight with Tony Kukoc. I was just like, my first practice. I had like Tony Kukoc was posting me up. Something happened, and I went down, and I had a fight with a three-time champion. The first practice.
How did that go over?
I mean, you know, I was running that test at the time, so I didn't lose much.
You and Coach okay after that?
I love Tony. He was a great mentor, very loving. Like, I love Tony. He helped me so much. He was only there for a year. He was hurt at the time, so I was actually subbing in for Tony. And then when he got hurt, I had to start. I wish I could have learned more. The only thing I regret being a rookie was I didn't have a lot of people teaching me the way I teach the rookies. So, you know, I always make sure I try to give, you know, the rookies and other guys everything that I know, that I've learned. I watched Kobe over the years. I watched Kobe practice. I see how he worked on his footwork. I watch Pau Gasol, you know, time is with in the games, and I see the moves that he go to. So I just try to, you know, I didn't make these things up. You know, I just try to show the guys things that I've seen that works, you know, and hopefully it helps them.
But were you crazy?
I don't know if I was crazy, but I think when you're dysfunctional, you could do things that might seem crazy. So, yeah, I guess people, but the thing is, people don't understand, you know, what people go through. So if I see a kid that's like dysfunctional, everybody calls him crazy, I immediately embrace the kid. I immediately see, you know, I can immediately understand probably what's going on. And that's why, you know, I kind of relate to a lot of, you know, young players. You know, even when I've seen guys in the NBA going through different things, I always reach out because I can kind of understand right away, you know, what the problem is. I can give some of my stories, and then immediately we could connect, you know, on a whole other level.
Mailroom. This is from Boxer Mahan in Binghamton, New York. Let's see what he says. Dear Dan and Penny. Oh, Penny, our dog. These are for you and Penny. A tennis ball, a baseball, some milk bones. I got some coupons. Oh, Boxer, that's really cute of you. I got some tickets to the Binghamton Devils as well. Wow. And Penny got some, that's Penny getting some fan mail. That's from Boxer. This is Saybrook Township Fire Rescue.
Oh, they're the best.
Okay. Let's.
Oh boy.
This is Devil Wind. These are some coasters. Okay. Suck It Back Row. It's from Tammy in Ohio. Some coasters there. Let's see, we got another patch here. This is Richmond Hill, Georgia Rescue. That's from the Richmond Hill Fire Department. Thank you, guys. Suck It Back Row. All righty. Alrighty. Before the break, McLovin teased a potential bombshell here that had to do with the Dinettes working from home and when they would come back. Paulie, of course, is here. and about 20 feet away from me. Fritzy has no idea what McLovin and Seton are talking about, but I yield the floor to you, McLovin.
Okay, so when we come back, which will hopefully be very soon, there's going to be a major adjustment, possibly.
For?
The Danettes who have been working remotely. Because when you're on Zoom, there is a mute button, and you are allowed to make any noises you want while the show is going on. So you might be comfortable and during a 3-hour radio show to pass gas whenever you want. Just hit the mute button. So now that we're gonna be back in studio, that's gonna be an adjustment. And there's the Todd Fritz game where we try and guess when Todd is actually doing said activity based on his face. Or adjustments on his seat. So we play that game without him knowing.
Yes,
That's a good game.
Yes, Seton.
Well, I mean, as you know, we've been at this now several weeks. I don't know how it is, right? So there is a certain level of comfort. But see, the problem is that once Andrew, I'm going to give you credit on this. Andrew unleashed the "Is this person farting right now?" game. It's dominated my Zoom sessions where every time that you look here, somebody's just sitting there. You're like, I'm pretty sure Todd just farted.
Wow.
I wish it was that simple, but I'm glad to get into more details. If you guys want to open the curtain, if we're comfortable talking about those types of things. There are times because of the condition that I suffer from where something beyond just passing gas is brewing in the middle of the segment. I don't want to walk out in the middle of the segment. So for lack of a better word, holding it in until I hear the lovely words of Dan saying, we'll be back after this, or some form of that so that I can pop off my chair. And thankfully the restroom is right on the other side of this wall.
So it's a bomb smell. It's not a bomb shell. It's a bomb smell.
If it was simple as what George Carlin once called the one cheek sneak, then I could just stay in my seat and do my thing. But I actually have to get up and get somewhere before there's a problem.
Yes, McLovin.
Also, you need to set a policy on pants. I don't know if I can wear non-sweatpants. I just don't know if I can do it anymore.
No, I don't care what you wear. I mean, obviously, look at Fritzy. He wears what he wants.
The whole sweats thing.
Yeah, if you want sweats, that's the beauty of what we do here. I never had a wardrobe rule here. There was no guidelines. So you're good.
That's true.
Yeah, whatever you want to wear. I don't care. I mean, you got to wear pants. I mean, something. Can't wear nothing.
Oh, well, during your SportsCenter years, you wore shorts.
I did wear shorts, yes. But not boxer shorts. I was wearing just shorts. You know.
Underwear still optional.
If you wear pants.
That's understandable. That we can do that.
All right. So that's and you guys have a time frame of coming back? Anybody have any idea here?
I'm kind of following are we being serious?
Yeah.
I'm kind of just following the state.
Okay.
And seeing when they say to open up. That's what seems to be the most logical thing for me.
McLovin?
Yeah, I mean, I assume we'll talk about it sometime. I tested positive for antibodies and I've recovered. So we have never got too into that, and nobody really knows what it means. So I feel like I'm safe to come back soon.
So if you tested positive for the antibodies, then you had it?
Yeah, I've been exposed to it. I had symptoms in March, but not too severe. So I didn't know what it was. I told you guys all about this, but I didn't know until I got the confirmation from the positive antibody test, which is a big debate. People don't know what that means. Does that mean I'm immune from spreading it? Hopefully. And then how long? So that's the big debate nationally, but I feel pretty comfortable, pretty safe. I want to come back soon.
Oh, good. Well, when you guys feel safe, then when you guys come back, then I'm going home. I'm going to start doing the show from my house once you guys come back. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Are you ready for a bunch of people to come back just adjustment wise?
Yeah, we've been smart. Because I tell everybody when the show is over, go home, but just be smart. That's all. Do what you're supposed to do, and understand you might be fine, but somebody else might not be fine. Who you come in contact with. I go to work and I go home. That's it. And try to be just smart about it. So that's all I ask the guys here. And, we cut the staff in half. The French kids at home, I sent Mario home so they could do their job from home. And then, there's social distancing here. So we're trying to be as smart as we possibly can while we continue to do the show. And look, I'm forever grateful that, we've made the best of this as we possibly can. And, the guys in the back and Alan, our IT guy, to help set this up, and the big German. I mean, that's what made this work, that there's a comfort level of coming here, and hopefully that will continue here over the next couple of months here. Tony in California joins us. Hey, Tony, what do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan, the word in Los Angeles is the veteran baseball players want to cancel the season because their agents are telling them you could get closer to a free agency without playing and risking injury or going into a slump, and the rookies and the minor leaguers want to play. So we could end up with some kind of strike, like veteran strike, rookie replacement, minor league replacement, Arizona, Florida league thing.
Yeah, I think it's so fluid. Thank you, Tony. The players wanting to get paid. Should they get paid? How much do you get paid? NBA players getting paid. Now they stop getting paid. Now is there even more of a push to come back so they do get paid? There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. And maybe we as fans don't care about that. We just want you to come back and play. We're not as concerned about how much money are you getting. Is Mike Trout getting his full paycheck or not? Or Clayton Kershaw? We want you to come back, and what's that mean? Can we go watch games? Where are they going to be played? Those kind of things. Matt in South Carolina. Hi, Matt. What do you have for me today?
Hey, what's up, DP?
Hey, man.
You were talking about things being so different all over the place. You touched on it with your buddy in Arizona that's playing golf every day. Down here in South Carolina, it's similar to Arizona. Like, I'm going to dinner and sit down for dinner for the first time since it started. I have a tea time on Thursday and a tea time on Saturday. It's so different. And it leads me to, college football down here is also so different than it is to Rutgers and places in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
And a theory I have is, what if down here in the Southeast, everyone's going back to students are back on campus and football is being played, but Power 5 is just kind of dissolved for maybe 1 year. Maybe it stays forever. I don't know. But that gives Clemson the chance to kind of play in the SEC. Texas maybe a chance to play in the SEC. Florida State. As a Clemson fan, this is pretty cool for me because down here, all we hear being Clemson fans is just, oh, it must be nice in the all-cupcake conference. You'd lose 3 games if you had to play Mississippi State every other week. Bring Gainesville to the real Death Valley. I would love this idea.
Thank you, Matt. Matt's already fired up for the season there. Paulie and I were talking about this before the show started. What's this mean for the NCAA as we move forward? Because I wondered when this first happened, and I was told by a source said, you might see this seismic shift with the NCAA, and maybe these power conferences secede from the union. I still think that's going to be the big play at some point, where these conferences just say, we don't need you. And we're the power brokers here in sports. You're almost making it a semi-professional college football league. If you want to pay your players, control their likenesses, and this is big business here. And the NCAA is not really governing these Power 5 conferences. These commissioners are just as powerful. Some of these commissioners are more powerful than the head of the NCAA, it feels like. I just don't know, can you get everybody to play in the conference if Vanderbilt can't come back, or USC can't come back, Stanford can't come back, Rutgers can't come back, Northwestern can't? Do you still try to cobble together a college football season? Can you go rogue and go, hey, we can play and you can play, so why don't we play? I don't know what's going to happen here. We don't know. I just know that these California state schools, they are going to be in trouble when it comes to this college football season. Do I think the college football season is delayed? My guess from people I've spoken to is yes. The NFL season, from what I'm told, yes. NBA, I have my doubts about them coming back. I hope they do. Baseball, I keep hearing in early July, they're going to try to come back. More phone calls coming up. Final hour this Wednesday. Why did people turn on Hootie and the Blowfish?
It was so big. It was so big.
just everywhere. I mean,
it's a great problem to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it felt like they were mad at themselves for liking you guys. How did I like the? I'm so mad at myself. I'm going to take it out on somebody. And wasn't there the bumper sticker? Maybe you saw it, Mark.
Yeah.
Was that in Baltimore or something?
Yeah.
Honk if you hate Hootie.
No, just F Hootie.
and no honking.
Didn't make it too deep. with three more letters.
Wow.
Yeah, don't waste your time honking.
But now it's come full circle.
It is. It's so funny for me because back in '96, I won that GQ Man of the Year in music. And the whole story, the last paragraph, the guy says, "Don't worry, Hootie and the Blowfish, you guys will get respect when John Daly is on the senior tour." And sure enough, John's on the senior tour, and we're finally getting respect as a band. It's pretty
I
awesome.
remember seeing the New York Times article before the tour started, and I think I sent it to you because I got it on Saturday, and it was the Sunday edition. And I think I sent it to Sony too. I go, what the? Yeah. Because I said it took this long for then these critics to kind of circle back and go, you know what, on second thought, it's like critics did the same thing. Like, it's simple, like, what is this? And now I think that it's great to see that they kind of had this epiphany and said, on second thought, they were you sold 25 million of Cracked Rear View, right?
Yeah.
Worldwide?
I think critics couldn't like us because we had just killed the form of music that they adored so much. We had just
wait. What did you kill?
Grunge. I mean, if you look at the timeline, when Hootie came, grunge ended. That's when Matchbox Twenty got their deal and all those.
So '94.
Yeah, is really when they stopped playing on the radio. When they started playing us.
Do you take credit for killing grunge?
Yeah.
Whoa!
You can keep that 20. You can keep the 20. I've been on this show 1,800 times, and that's the first time I've cursed.
You know what? Satellite radio has spoiled us.
What has happened to you?
I don't know. I'm the old black guy in the club.
Tiger said he was inspired by your win on Sunday. Did you see that?
Well, I think that we've gotten pretty close over the last couple of years with the team events and his great leadership that he's had as a vice captain of the Ryder Cup and President's Cup. And we've had a really good relationship the last few years, and we've been pulling hard for each other because we both know and believe that we have the ability to play and compete against these great players. And we know how great the players are today. They're phenomenal. But we also know and believe that we can play and compete against them. And so seeing somebody do it, I think he's always one up to me in my career. And I wouldn't be surprised if he came out this week and won just to one up me again.
But how frustrating. You're a Hall of Fame golfer, and you're a competitor, but when somebody one-ups you, like, how does that feel?
Well, it's first of all, that sucks. But let me say this. I have an appreciation for the fact that I played and competed against Tiger for all these years. And in fact, I believe I would not have played as well as I have throughout my career had it not been for him, nor would I have elongated my career to this point and have my body be healthy and so forth had it not been for him. He's the one that got me started working out back in 2003. And granted, a lot of my fitness is hidden through under layers of fat, but I've worked hard to strengthen all the muscles that support my spine, my knees, my shoulders, to help elongate my career. And Sean Cochran, my trainer's been very good at that. In fact, I'm gonna hop in the gym here as soon as we get off the phone. And so doing these things has allowed me to elongate my career.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Dan Patrick.
They have to have a contingency plan. Sam Smith, the author of The Jordan Rules, what did the documentary not capture?
You know, to me, it's sort of like based on a true story. You know, like we see a lot of these movies. I think everything they're talking about basically happened, but elements of it get forgotten about. You know, like when he provoked the Pistons into that walkout.
Joined by the four Danettes every weekday for the best in sports talk.
And he just eviscerates this two-time champion, three-time finals team as unworthy. The NBA should take away their trophies. And that's really what motivated him to do this. It wasn't this walkout that, you know, this revisionist history the Pistons came up with later.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
We're still talking about Michael Jordan.
This is Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program. Final hour on this Wednesday. We've been all over the map here today. Started the show by talking about ESPN's 74 greatest players, NBA history. I'm not sure the criteria, what they came up with. These are the guidelines, who you're going to vote, where you're going to vote them. Michael Jordan is 1, LeBron's 2, Kareem 3, Bill Russell 4, Magic Johnson 5, Wilt Chamberlain 6, Larry Bird 7, Tim Duncan 8, Kobe Bryant 9, and Shaquille O'Neal is 10. I had problems with a couple of rankings here, but it still goes back to I don't know what it's based upon. If is the trump card winning? Because it feels like when you win, you're going to be higher on the list. Bill Russell is high on the list. He won. Greatest winner in NBA history. Greatest winner in team sports history. He's in the top 5. Is it based on ability? Is it based on what you did individually? If I took away the postseason, how would these rankings look? So it's fun. It burns a little bit of time here, but if you do take it seriously, which I do, and maybe I'm in the minority, I was really bothered by ESPN's college basketball rankings, greatest player of all time, because Michael Jordan is not the greatest college basketball player of all time. He's in the conversation, but there's others that were better. That was it. If we're going to have a list, and then, I always feel like my job is impart my wisdom, the history of what I've done and been around these players, so you do get a better sense of somebody saw somebody play, somebody covered somebody. And I would listen, I would defer to Bob Ryan if he was going to tell me about the greatness of Casey Jones or Bill Russell or Sam Jones with the Boston Celtics. I mean, I would listen, and I would be stupid to not listen to them. And you're looking at guys who didn't play well in the postseason or didn't have championships, but they were great during the regular season. It's a fun debate, but it goes back to what I said when I started the show. I always feel like I'm tearing down somebody by promoting somebody. Because if I say Bill Russell is not the third best basketball player of all time. Now, if we're just saying how well you played basketball, he's not the third or fourth best player. He's not. Greatest team player? Yes. Best resume? Absolutely. And I think Russ, what is he, 86 now? I think Bill Russell's 86. But he's number 4 on the list. Okay. You want to put Magic in there? Absolutely. Put him at 5. Wilt is in there at 6. Tim Duncan. But if I just said this is regular season, if this is just based off your basketball ability, Bill Russell's not in there. Is Tim Duncan 8th on the all-time list if it's just basketball ability? Shaq is 10. Just based on basketball ability. If I just took that, let's take away championships now, just basketball ability. This list is very different. And if you had to start your team, let's say I took Michael Jordan out of this. You get 3 players, start your team, all time. And let's do that. Let's do that.
What's the rationale? You
get 3 players. Now, can we take the same 3 players? Because I don't want to do a snake draft where all of a sudden, I'm taking Kawhi Leonard, even though Kawhi would be a nice player. But let's take Jordan out of it. You got 3 players. Paulie, I'll start with you. You got 3 players. Start your team all time.
My rationale is trying to win.
Okay.
Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Kobe Bryant.
Okay. Seton O'Connor.
Man, it's tough for me to not start my team with LeBron.
Okay.
I'm going to take Shaquille O'Neal.
Dan Patrick.
And then I want to throw in Steph Curry, but yeah, I think I will.
You can.
Yeah.
McLovin?
Oh man, I'm stealing for both you guys because I'm picturing today's game outside oriented. LeBron with Steph Curry and Larry Bird, because LeBron would drive in and kick out to those guys. Oh my God, unstoppable.
I love Kareem. Like Kareem would play and dominate in today's game as well. LeBron. Yeah, I'm trying. We're playing today's game, today's rules. I think is that what we've stumbled upon here? Because if that's the case, Steph Curry just went up the list. I'm going to have LeBron in there.
So you have Kareem and LeBron, and you have one more spot on your roster?
I would do Steph Curry. I want the best center. Now we can have an argument here, but I got the best center. I got the best shooter of all time, and I've got maybe the best all-around player of all time, or at least LeBron's in the conversation. Don't want to upset anybody in Chicago here. LeBron is and a great facilitator, so he can do what I need him to do. And he's more athletic than Bird. You know, would I love to see Bird in today's NBA? That would be great. But I'll go LeBron, and I'll go Kareem, and I'll go Steph. Fritzy?
I had the names of Magic, Kareem, and Shaq down. All 3 crossed out. I'm going with Kobe, Bird, LeBron.
Okay.
Almost went Kareem, thinking that I needed to have that big man, but because of what's going on in recent years in the NBA, it's a little less important. So Kobe, Bird, and King James.
Yeah, but this is another thing. I know that we love the 3 and the volume of 3s. If I have the guy down low who I'm guaranteed to score, he'll get 40 points if I want him to, because nobody will stop Kareem. There's nobody today. There's no rim protectors today. And so I know that I'm getting points there. I got Steph, who's going to shoot 3s. And then I got LeBron, who's going to do everything else. Yes, McLovin.
So I know late career Kareem, who is slower. Could he run the floor early on? Because if he can run the floor, was he a good, like, getting up and down guy?
Yeah. I mean, you're getting them in their prime. It's not like you're getting the Magic is going to resuscitate Kareem years. This is, if I said I had Lou Alcindor when he was with Milwaukee, I mean, Shaq's a beast. But I would be taking, I just think if people saw Lou Alcindor, because this is when Wilt, 1970. So Kareem comes in, and the big deal is Wilt. Oh, he's going to show the rookie. Oh, man. This was the changing of the guards where you went, Wilt, not anymore. Lou Alcindor was something the NBA had never seen. Wilt was a powerful guy. Kareem was a graceful guy. But he was also rebounding, block shots. I mean, he would put up 30 and 16. Those were his averages. Now, I know Wilt would not have gotten away with that against Lou Alcindor. Kareem would have gotten away with that against everybody that Wilt played against. And Wilt played against some pretty good big men. But, I don't think people understand what Kareem did when he was at UCLA, when he first got to the Bucks. Like, he won the title. It wasn't Oscar. Oscar was on the team. That was Lou Alcindor. And what a dominating force. But I don't know if there's a wrong answer here with this. I think it's interesting, and it makes you – I love when people talk about the players who used to play. That's my favorite part of this, is that we don't forget I got into this discussion argument with Chris Mannix, who covers the NBA for Sports Illustrated. And I said, look, Russell Westbrook is a far greater athlete than Rick Barry. Far greater. I mean, not a better basketball player. That's all. And we get caught up in, oh, this guy, he couldn't survive today. This guy, if he played back then. I'm just telling you what these people did when they played. And Rick Barry was one of the great scorers in the history of the game. And he won an NBA championship for a Golden State team that wasn't packed full of stars. They had Jamal Wilkes. That was their big name on that team. It's a fun discussion, only for the sole reason that we talk about guys that you never got to see. I never want people to forget about Jerry West. He was great. He didn't win championships. If he did, then it would be different. Pete Maravich was a wonderful player. Now, was he a great player? Not in the NBA, but he was fascinating to watch. Bill Walton, if he was healthy, could have turned out to be as good a big man, maybe the best big man of all time. He understood the game. He played selfishly. That Portland team is my favorite team of all time when they won the title. They lost the first two to Philadelphia and Dr. J. They came back and swept them in 4. It is the purest basketball I ever saw. The Blazers with Jack Ramsey. They didn't have stars. Mo Lucas, Johnny Davis, Dave Twardzik. They just had Bobby Gross. They had a great team. And Larry Steele. That's what made it so much fun to watch a team that beat a team of Hall of Famers in the 76ers. Yeah, Paul.
The two players that it bothers me because of my age and the fact that the NBA wasn't really televised in the late 70s or mid-70s, not getting to see Dr. J, Julius Erving in his prime, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I saw Julius Erving when he was on the last third of his career. Still a very good player with the Sixers, but I can remember thinking to myself, a little too much fuss, because what I saw was, I was more into Barkley. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you saw him with the Lakers. He was still very good, but he wasn't the best player in the league. So unfortunately, that was a cutoff when I started watching those two guys.
Yeah, I just go back to when Alcindor came into the Bucks, and it was just different. That was a true two-way player in modern basketball, and he was dominating. Lucas in Virginia. Hi, Luke. What do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan. I'm like yourself. The GOAT talk, it goes on too much. But you bring up a point to me, and I agree, Michael Jordan, not the greatest college basketball player of all time. Watching the highlights, I'm only 26, so I didn't get to see some of these great players. But I've got to agree, Alcindor, bar none, was the best and most dominant college player. So when we say the best basketball player of all time, are we combining college and pro? Or are we just saying just a pro career? Because if that's the case, Alcindor is the greatest ever. The way he backed it up from UCLA to the Bucks and so forth, where Michael didn't, in your eyes, at UNC.
Yeah, I mean, Michael won the title there at North Carolina. My argument, if you're the best college basketball player of all time, how can you have a year when you weren't even the best player on your own team? And James Worthy was the college basketball player of the year. It's not a knock against Michael. It's just applying some logic to the situation here. And, Michael's had this resurgence. You know who benefited from the Last Dance? Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen's up on the list. Is Scottie top 30, maybe? Yeah, McLovin.
I thought the same thing. I didn't remember his vicious dunks on like Patrick Ewing, that he was so physically imposing at that time.
I'm trying to think here where Scottie Pippen is. Pippen is 21st. 21st. So let me give you the people behind Scottie Pippen. Elgin Baylor. Once again, I saw Elgin at the end of his career. He had had knee surgery, and he was nowhere near what he once was. Great college player and a great basketball player for the Lakers. Barkley. David Robinson is behind Scottie Pippen. Kawhi Leonard, Dwayne Wade, the Greek Freak, John Stockton, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, Isaiah Thomas, James Harden, John Havlicek. Scottie benefited, I think, from the Last Dance. Is he better than Barkley?
I can't roll with that one. I think Barkley's drastically underrated as a player because he's so entertaining off the court. That underrates his career. He was a phenomenon
Scottie
at 6'5".
won. Scottie won.
But if we're taking away resume, like you said, if we're taking away basketball playing ability and carrying a team, Charles Barkley was able to do that.
Well, Scottie took a team that should have gone to the NBA Finals, a bad call by Hugh Hollins against the Knicks, and Scottie with a 50s. They won 57 games that year without Michael. They won 57 without Michael? How's that possible? Yes, McLovin.
Is he better than David Robinson?
See, then I get into these damn arguments where I love the Admiral. Scottie was a spectacular all-around player. Spectacular. But do I think he's the 21st best basketball player of all time? I don't. If I'm building my team, how many of these guys do you individually would you pick out if you said you were going to build your team and you got one guy? Now, obviously, Michael and LeBron, Kareem, you could make a case for Magic and Bird, Kobe, Shaq, Elijah Wan, even Steph Curry in today's game. Would I build around Dirk Nowitzki? Would I build around Kevin Garnett, Charles Barkley? Does that change the argument here, the discussion? Am I building around Scottie Pippen? And the answer is no, you're not. But Scottie was great. He was great in understanding his role with Michael. I mean, Iverson was, there are just so many great players. I mean, it's just, but I will accept this list begrudgingly.
Accept it.
If it means
accept it.
We talk about these players that people didn't get to see, or we remember, if it forces you to go back and say, well, let me see what he's talking about with Rick Barry. And you go back and watch some of the highlights there. Okay, great. Then mission accomplished. Moses Malone, 18th on the list. He was a beast. Absolute beast. Couldn't jump, didn't run, wasn't a great shooter, but you had an offensive rebound to get, a putback, he was doing it. And I remember when he came out of high school and he was going to the ABA. Like, we wanted to see Moses Malone because he was a big deal. Dr. J was a bad dude, man. Golly. There's just so many on there. So many. Yeah, Paul.
The one thing I've always felt a little bad for David Robinson's place in history because a couple things hurt him. He missed his first 2 years. He was in the service, so he didn't start till he's 24. And then he hurt his back, and so some of his best years in the public eye, he was not the same David Robinson. He was still on a very good team, but Tim Duncan became the focal point. He became the second best player. But if in his prime, there's a 6-year stretch where he had a season, David Robinson, where he averaged 30 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 blocks, and 2 steals. He was the most complete player in the entire NBA, but he was out there with San Antonio, and it was not getting enough coverage.
Well, because Duncan won titles is how he's up on this list, because playing in a smaller market, a guy who didn't do commercials, who was not there to do interviews, he was sort of he won more than John Stockton did, but their approach to the game and being a star was the same. Stockton didn't care. He couldn't care less about being interviewed. He didn't care about, getting any kind of star treatment. He just wanted to play and win. And the Admiral was the same way. The first time I met him at the Naval Academy, he just had this humility to him. Mike in Florida joins us. Hey, Mike, what do you have for me?
Hey, Dan, how's it going, buddy?
It's going well.
I know how you love these lists, right? I mean, you're so into this type of thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking that we could somehow mold together the hot guy draft with this list and have, the best-looking NBA player guy instead. I think Rick Fox is a 1C for sure.
I can't do another list here, Mike.
Handsome NBA player draft?
No, I can't do that. No, I'm actually knee-deep in the nuts and bolts of the history of the game. Yes, McLovin.
Kendall Gill, easy on the eyes.
Good haircut.
I never got the answer to your question. You're talking about regular season NBA MVP who didn't play in the finals?
Yeah, who never played in a finals game.
So Steve Nash is one.
According to this Twitter user, yes.
Okay. And then give me a hint on the other one, then I'll take a break.
I'll tell you after the break when I look it up.
You don't even know, do you?
No.
Okay. More phone calls coming up, 877-3DP Show, and Twitter handle at DP Show. You can watch on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. Take a break. Back after this on The Dan Patrick Show. Simply Safe. With all the uncertainty going on right now, feeling safe at home has never been more important. That's why I want to remind you about Simply Safe Home Security. They've been longtime friends of the program over a decade, and they haven't changed their prices. There's no contract to sign, no hidden fees. You set it up, and it's going to cost you 50 cents a day. You spend $14.99 a month. They haven't changed that. It's award-winning. U.S. News & World Report said Simply Safe, quote, best overall home security of 2020. You order it. Comes in the mail, delivered to you. Don't need an electrician to help set it up. Don't have to bang any holes in the wall. It's going to take an hour or less for you to set it up. Simply Safe. Right now, when you go to simplysafedan.com, my listeners get free shipping, 60-day risk-free trial. Simplysafedan.com. Make sure let them know that you're listening to the show. From Simply Safe and all of us here on the Dan Patrick Show, wishing you safety and good health. We were also curious about, you played Dick Vermeil.
Yeah.
But were you around Dick? What research do you do when you're portraying Dick Vermeil?
I went up to, he was in his last year at Kansas City, right? And I went up to his training camp. I think, was it Appleton, Wisconsin? Would that be right? What is it?
That sounds right. I think that's where they used to practice.
Yeah. And,
or is that the Packers? We'll check.
Yeah.
We're just making stuff up here.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
continue.
Anyway, wherever it was, I know it was Wisconsin. I went up to the training camp, and they, hot summer watching these guys work. He was accessible, he was super nice. And I remember him taking me, with all the guys at one point. I'm playing Dick. It's a good script, a good project. I didn't really know his work. I knew him as a coach, but I didn't know him that well. So it was a really great learning experience to kind of get to tap into the guy. And all of a sudden, as we were standing there with him coaching the guys, they're all taking a knee. He's doing his coach deal. He says, and now Greg would like to say a few words. And I was like, I had absolutely, I remember it was like one of the great, just sweat pouring down my face going, football is important for a number of reasons.
Because the movie is Invincible, so this is 1996.
Yeah.
So a couple of decades ago.
Yeah.
Yes, McLovin, what?
Oh, it's River Falls, just so we're clear.
Oh, River Falls, Wisconsin?
Oh, yeah. By the way, lifelong Dick Vermeil fan. I cried every time he cried, and you did a great job. I just want to say, I was at Westchester training camp as a kid, watching the Eagles like you did in the movie.
Yeah.
And you nailed it.
Listen, I was so taken with, there's people who are cynical. We're always kind of cynical about his emotion and thinking, this guy can't control it, or that there's some sort of artifice to it. I watched tape on him, and it's all over YouTube. You can go research it yourself. He honestly had just such a heart. He really did. Was just such a passionate guy, and it just really came out. So it was great fun to play him because I felt like he was different. He really was different.
Now, this is the rematch because
you smoked me.
I wanted to be one and done the last time because I killed it. I think even a behind the back.
I feel like Gary Payton. I felt good, and then you laughed.
And then I did the Jordan belly laugh.
Do I go first?
If you want to send the message loud and clear, go get them.
A little left. You must. I think you're practicing when I'm not.
Where am I practicing?
That's in. Golly, you're dialed. You're in my head a little bit.
Oh. Short.
Nice.
Oh,
that's a wave off.
No.
Oh, you can't balance it. Where's the commissioner? Commissioner.
No, I'm the commissioner.
Oh, man.
I'm the captain.
I need help here. You made me laugh. Oh, that's dialed in. 7 points. Good for you. You get the bouncer. All right, I'm going to go.
And McLovin left me hanging here earlier today. He sent me this trivia question from a fan. Steve Nash, one of 2 players, NBA history, to have been named regular season MVP and not play in an NBA championship game. The other one, and then McLovin didn't give me the other one. I go, well, wait a minute. It's a nice trivia question, but you got to have the answer for me.
Well, blame the fans. I think I have it.
Do you want to give me a hint?
I'll give you a hint. Like, his career never really blossomed the way it should have because of injuries.
Is he still playing?
Yes.
Okay. Has he been on the show?
Yeah, I think he has been on the show. Yes, he definitely has.
Okay. Is he with the team that he was drafted by?
No, no, and he hasn't been for a little while.
Okay. Is he a guard? Point guard?
Yeah, point guard.
Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
Derrick Rose. Oh, boy.
But that's because of injuries, right? We don't know how his career would have unfolded.
Man, he had a great start. That was a whole different, like when you watched him play, like you were going, wow, okay, that's a little different here. Now Giannis hasn't played in the finals, right?
That's true. Oh, that's true.
Okay.
So that, oh gosh.
Okay, all right. Well, it started out as a decent trivia question. Paulie just sent me, okay, open during segment, not before. Scroll down. These are the instructions. Did you guys get this from Paulie?
Yes.
Okay, all right. They can't hear your head shake on radio. All right. Oh, the Rams uniforms. Okay. Okay. They're very bright. The helmet is the new school.
It's kind of an old school, new school combo. It's like the late 70s uniforms glammed up.
I'm going to go thumbs up on this. I'm going to give them a thumbs up. I know we've been banging on the Rams a little bit here. Seton, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to just to give you the alternate opinion.
Okay.
And someone on Twitter described these as, these are the uniforms you'd see in a commercial where a Best Buy employee has a dream sequence about being a football player who tackles low prices.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm going to go okay on these. I'm going to go thumbs up. Yes, Todd?
I like the blue ones in particular with the yellow pants. I think those are pretty cool looking.
Yeah, I like it. I
Some
like
old
it.
school about that.
Yeah.
They got that new horn on them, though, on the helmet.
That I don't love.
It's not as bad as I thought it was going to look. And did you see the numerals and the numbers? You get numbers there. It goes from the gold, and then it sort of tapers off to a lighter, almost whiter part of the bottom part of the jersey number. Yes, Eaton.
So how does the tapered part work on this situation, but not for the Jaguars helmet, where it sort of tapers into a different color?
Well, I don't like the actual colors that they have.
Yeah, that's true.
And plus, the Jags aren't any good, so that hurts.
Also factors.
It is amazing, though, if you're good, that we'll somehow, like those creamsicle uniforms with Tampa Bay, when they first brought those and started playing, they were horrible. The team was. Therefore, we made fun of the creamsicle. And I think Tampa Bay took it personally and went, okay, we're gonna retire the creamsicle. Well, you can bring back the sickle because now you got Tommy in town, and those uniforms are going to look a whole lot better. All right, so the Ram uniforms, I'm okay with it. Somebody's got to say something nice about the Rams. What bothers you, Paulie?
Well, there's something I'm confused about. On the Rams uniforms, on the shoulder, there's this thing that says a patch that says Los Angeles Rams. In case you're confused on what team they were, it says Los Angeles Rams. I don't know if this is going to be a permanent little logo on the shoulder, front shoulder of the uniform that says Los Angeles Rams, or is that a holding stitch for the new sponsor?
Well, we are headed in that direction.
Yeah.
That is for sure. I mean, like SoFi is going to be sponsoring the SoFi Rams.
Likely.
Let me see. Ruben in California. Ruben, what do you have for me today?
I don't know. I just said there.
Thank you, Ruben. Got a bad connection there. Anthony in Florida joins us. Hey, Anthony.
Hey, Dan. It's first time, long time. 6'1", 261. Dan, I'm a little younger than you by about 9 years, so I started watching pro ball 75, 76. Big Dr. J fan. So if we're going to exclude Michael from the list, I would say Dr. J, Larry Bird, Kareem, and Stephon Curry solely for the outside shooting. And the other three were, they were bad guys. They were bad. You know what?
Yeah.
And they could fight. They were physical. Guys today are a little soft. So I think in their prime, Bird, Magic, Dr. J, and Bird, Dr. J, Kareem in their prime.
Okay.
I don't see any people from today really touching them prime for prime.
Yeah, we were cheated by Bird, the bad back. Larry had less than a 10-year career. He inflicted a lot of damage on people during that time frame. And there for a while, there was 3 consecutive years where he was the best player in the NBA. But then bad back took over. You look at Larry's best year. Look at LeBron's best year. Look at Larry's best year. And I think you'd be surprised if I said Larry was better. Up until that point. I think up until they were 30, Larry was a better player in their career. But LeBron has blown past Larry. Yeah, Paul.
Larry Bird's final healthy season, he was 31 years old. He averaged 30 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. And he shot 42% from 3.
What did he shoot from the field?
53%.
Yeah. Is LeBron still shooting at a higher percentage than Michael Jordan?
Just shooting percentage, not from 3?
No, just shooting percentage. Total shooting percentage. Because you would think Michael, mostly mid-range jumpers and dunks.
Just to compare, LeBron James at 31 years old, same as Bird, he averaged 25 points, 7.5 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal, and a block.
Yeah. Larry was better at that age. LeBron is a better basketball player. Once he got into his 30s, LeBron separated himself from quite a few people here. Let me see. Monty in Kansas. Hey, Monty, we got a scoreboard winner for Fritzy's scoreboard contest. Matt in Virginia. We'll have the numbers here coming up. Hey, Monty, how are you?
Good. First time, long time, 5'11", 190. Wanted to weigh in on the Paulie mentioned not being able to see Dr. J when he was in his prime, and I grew up in Denver, Colorado, a huge ABA fan, and the ABA had some great players, David Thompson, George McGinnis, George Gervin, Artis Gilmore, and I saw Dr. J a lot in his prime, and he was far and away the best basketball player I've ever seen. His hands were huge. He could jump out of the gym, and he just knew what was going on.
Well, thank you, Monty. I appreciate that. See, this is what's good about the list, that we have people who saw some of these guys play in their prime. I don't want to be the get-off-my-lawn radio guy, but I certainly sound like that. I want you to get on my lawn. I don't want you to get off my lawn. Get on my lawn, have a beer, folding chair, and I'll fire up the Traeger. Get on my lawn. But yeah, Dr. J that was something new to the NBA. Well, ABA, then the NBA. Kenny in Ohio. Hi, Kenny. What do you have for me?
Hey there, Dan. First time, long time. 5'9" question mark on the weight.
Okay.
Wanted to bring up Carmelo Anthony. You know, he was one of the top. You know, he was a top 5 scorer for 10 years. I don't know how Artis Gilmore's on that list, but Carmelo's not. In addition to him, you have Hakeem, who really dominated Shaq in the 90s, and Shaq really had no other dominant centers after Ewing, Robinson, and Hakeem retired. I really don't know how Hakeem is lower than Shaquille.
Yeah, Hakeem's my favorite center. You know, I think Abdul-Jabbar is the most dominating. But if you said watching a center play the position at a high level, Hakeem was always that. And he was a wonderful person. You know, Walton played it as purely as possible. And Kareem, to me, was unstoppable. Shaq was just a force that was, you thought Wilt was a force, and then Shaq came in. And, you know, Shaq could run the floor, too. No, there's just so many names in here, and it's great because I was fortunate to watch, you know, the Cincinnati Royals. You know, they were in Cincinnati, obviously, but not for a long time. And it's more of a college basketball town than an NBA town. But I got to go, and I had friends who had cars. And to drive me to see the Cincinnati Royals, even on a school night, and to be able to watch these teams. So the Lakers, the Laker greats with Jerry West coming to town, the Knicks with those magical teams, the Bullets, Earl the Pearl Monroe, Maravich came to town, Chicago Bulls with Bob Love and Chet Walker. To be able to see them in person, it just, and I always had great seats because there was nobody there. We'd sneak in 3 hours before the game started. And I shot hoops with some of the Baltimore Bullets back then, Mike Reardon, when the Atlanta Hawks came to town. Like, it was magical. You were able to watch these great players. Not many people there watching them in Cincinnati. And then the Royals eventually went to Kansas City. But I got to see Nate Archibald. And if you want to talk about somebody having a great season, like Nate had one of the great seasons of all time. Last place team, he led the league in scoring and assists. That's hard to do. You know, because you'd think if you're a last place team, you don't have anybody to throw the ball to. And Nate Archibald, he was 5'10", probably 155. And he went left every single time. Every single time. He couldn't be stopped. So you have those memories, and that's what's great. If we're talking about these players and remembering how great they were, that's what's so much fun. Sonny in Alabama. Hey, Sonny, what do you have for me?
Hey, man. My brother-in-law, he played at Alabama and played against Pistol Pete. Said he would come down court. He was guarding him. He was a point guard at Alabama, Jimmy Holland. And he said Pete would come down, cross half court, and just put 69 on him with no three-point line.
Yeah, you know, at the time, and we would get the SEC game of the week, and it was usually Kentucky playing somebody. And I remember Kentucky had great players. And then Maravich would get his 40, 45, and LSU would lose. And Kentucky knew this. Kentucky was like, Maravich's going to get his. It doesn't matter. We're going to win the game. And that's usually what happened there. Mike in Minnesota. Hey, Mike, what do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan, 5'10", 180.
All right.
Sitting in my house for the last few months, but I've been concerned and wondering about what's going to happen if there is no college football and no NFL football. Who's going to determine, or how are they going to determine who gets the first overall pick and who will be the first overall pick?
Well, I think we're going to have football. I mean, that is a really big hypothetical. I'm going to guess we're having pro football. I think it's going to start later. I still believe that first month is in doubt, and then we'll take those 4 games and put them at the back end of the schedule. But I I don't know how they would do. Who gets what would be the draft order? Yeah, McLovin.
I mean, that in that hypothetical, the Bengals would have to look at Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I know they wouldn't, but it's an amazing hypothetical.
Oh, good. We got a little bit of time before we get there. George in Arizona. Hi, George. What do you have for me?
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Good, sir.
Herm Edwards here at Arizona State, my school, he said there are 100 players on his side, 100 players on the other side, 50 ancillary people, 50 ancillary. That's almost 400 people per game. How do you transport them carefully? What do you do? Test them?
I don't know, George. I really don't. And people think that I'm weaponizing this coronavirus. You know, people chat row saying, you know, I'm getting political. I'm just like you. I have questions. I have doubts. I have concerns. I want everybody to go back to normal. I want sports to come back. I hope it comes back. I'd love to be wrong that I'm overly, cautious here. Love to be wrong. If it goes away tomorrow, I will shout from the mountaintops. I apologize. But all I know is when we first got word of this, and I came on the air and said, if this is going to mirror what is happening in Italy, we are in trouble. That's it. It's been a long 2 months for everybody here. I do not talk politics. I don't. I try not to. But that doesn't stop me from talking what I believe or common sense, or if I talk to somebody and I have information here, I have no agenda. I'm not here to change your political beliefs. I just want to talk about it in a way that we can talk about it. Instead of, as soon as I say, oh, well, we know how he voted. You don't know. And that's not what this is about. I'm not trying to win any argument here. Well, you're president or I don't care about that. As God is my witness, I could not care less about that. And even if I was talking politics, I can't change your politics. Nobody's ever changed their politics when somebody is telling them their side. And then you eventually go, oh, you know what? On second thought, you like people you agree with. And vice versa. That's all this is. So if you want to, you're weaponizing this. I'm not. If you want to make this about politics, that's on you, not on me. I just want to understand the entire picture here. This has nothing to do with the president, in my opinion. No matter who the president is. And I want you to know this so we can stop with the rhetoric where it's, politics, you're weaponizing this. Just stop. I won't allow it. I'll allow discussion. And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit it. I'd love to be wrong where we can come back, where we can go to restaurants, where people who have been out of work, I would love for that to happen and go back to being the best country in the world. All of those things. If not, ESPN's got to keep coming up with these damn lists so I have something to talk about every single day. We'll take a break. Last call for phone calls, back after this.
Okay, what you remember the Titans take? Yes or no? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Okay, I don't remember the Titans. Okay, I'm being honest.
Denzel Washington.
Okay.
He coaching. There's a school in Virginia that segregation.
Now, he didn't have the player radio, did he?
No.
Cuba Gooding Jr.?
Different movie.
Okay.
It's a true story. Is it Herman Boone, I think, is the coach down in Virginia.
Okay.
Integration. White players and black players get together. They end up winning the state title, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of tension.
Okay.
But it's a Denzel Washington movie. Very, very popular. On Rotten Tomatoes, it got about 78% positive reviews from the reviewers.
Okay.
It got 96% from the fans. Very popular movie.
Do you guys like the movie? I don't think I saw it.
It's the one with Sunshine Ronnie Bass, who looks like Trevor Lawrence, plays the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever saw
You
him.
might have missed it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a huge smash hit.
And I like Denzel, but I don't remember that. Yeah, Paulie.
I think it's a good movie. It could be a little hokey. The backstory is I used to work with Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler, and we all saw the movie. We were doing college game day, and we went and saw the movie. Herbstreit walked out of that movie. That is the best, not best sports movie, the best movie he's ever seen. Herbstreit came out of that movie. I thought he was going to put on the Buckeye helmet and run through a wall. And he goes, "What do you think?" I'm like, "It was pretty good. It's pretty good." And he looked at me and goes, "What are you talking about pretty good?" He was in my face because he couldn't believe I didn't love Remember the Titans. I said, "It's good."
Okay, where does that rank on football movies?
For football guys?
Yeah. But
top 3.
What is the best football movie
All
ever?
football movies are bad, is the general rule to start with. That's what Twitter is saying. Like, generally, football movies are way worse than baseball movies. So keep that in mind.
Okay. Well, what is the best football movie? Is Rudy? That's the most popular, but that's a documentary.
That you can't put that in with fictional movies. It's a documentary.
Not in the order of greatness, just popularity.
Okay.
Friday Night Lights, Remember the Titans, North Dallas 40 is a great movie, but it's from the 70s. The original Longest Yard, The Blind Side was a very popular movie. Brian's Song, Varsity Blues. They're all.
Isn't Blind Side better than Remember the Titans?
Yeah.
Isn't the original Longest Yard?
That's a great movie.
With Burt Reynolds, the original Longest Yard is better than Remember the Titans.
These are better reviewed movies. Like, they probably got more stars.
But once again, I don't remember the Titans. I may have seen a little bit of Denzel on the sidelines coaching. Yes, Fritzy.
May I remind you, any given Sunday, it's worth seeing. It may not be the best, but it's certainly not the worst. 12 inches is a foot, Dan.
No, got it.
3 feet.
Got it.
You get the yard.
Got it, Al Pacino.
Who's with me?
And that wasn't a good movie either. Yes.
Like, can't you do a bunch of better baseball movies, like The Natural, Bull Durham?
Oh, yeah. Baseball, definitely. But I'm just wondering about football movies. You know, The Replacements.
You know what? I don't like the way they play basketball in basketball movies. It never looks like real basketball. Have you ever consulted on one of those movies or seen?
White Men Can't Jump. Woody Harrelson can't play. You know, he talks smack. If you talk that way on the playground, you wouldn't be playing basketball. And, you know, I thought that Wesley Snipes could actually play a little bit. Like, he had some athleticism there. And he had decent handle. I just think Woodrow was not the right guy. You could have put George Clooney in there or Sandler. They're better basketball players, in my opinion. But, you know, Woody was talking a good game. But I didn't think he was a good basketball player. Who else? What are some of the other ones, though?
The basketball movies?
Well, Hoosiers is awesome.
Hoosiers is great.
Yeah, Hoosiers is one of the...
And the basketball is pretty good.
That's a great movie.
Some of those guys actually played basketball, but they had to learn to play 50s basketball.
Yeah.
They had to dribble on top. They couldn't carry the ball. And they had to teach themselves. They had to watch... I talked to some of the players. They had to learn how to play like the 50s, where, you know, defense, their arms were wide and everyone moved in that fashion.
And nobody was flopping. No, nobody's flopping. But they also had that little... like you took a step when you took your jump shot. But they did. They portrayed that, the 50s style, like a little runner. They portrayed that well. Yeah, McLeod.
How about He Got Game and Blue Chips as basketball movies?
But you had actual basketball players in He Got Game. Blue Chips.
Also had real players like Matt
you had
Nover.
Penny, and Shaq. And, of course, Matt Nover. I like how it's Penny, Shaq, and Matt Nover.
Former Indiana big man, serviceable big man.
Oh, you got Matt Nover, so you got real basketball players there, aside from Shaq and Penny.
How did he get that role?
Unless it was shot in Indiana.
Well, Bob Knight appeared in the movie, and a lot of other players appeared in the movie, and Nover kind of stole it. They were looking at other people.
He was playing the Larry Bird farm, Indiana farm guy.
Yes. And Nover was a pretty decent player at Indiana.
Scoreboard winner, Fritzy scoreboard winner. He puts up numbers every morning here in the Man Cave. 6 and 91. Tell us what the 6 is for, Todd.
The clue for 6 is the man knows how to hit.
All
For
right.
91, it's you won't be bored around him.
All right. Give us the answer.
6 is Stan the Man Musial, 8th to reach 3,000 hits on this date in history, 1958. He wore jersey number 6. On May 13th, 1961, Dennis Rodman was born. You won't be bored around him, as in a rebound, as in grabbing a board. He wore, one of the jerseys he wore was 91, at least with the Bulls.
All right. Thank you, Todd. This day in sports history, Paulie?
Got a few, Dan. Mickey Mantle in 1955 hit 3 consecutive home runs. He never hit 4 in a row in a game. Reggie Jackson in 1983 became the first major league player to strike out 2,000 times. Wayne Gretzky in 1989 was a guest host on Saturday Night Live. And in 1996 is a bad one. O.J. Simpson appeared on British TV to discuss his not guilty verdict. One of his first interviews after being acquitted, I guess.
I think those home runs by Mickey Mantle were like over 400 feet. I think all 3 of those were tape measure jobs there. A couple of phone calls in here. Nick in Idaho. Hi, Nick. What do you have for me today?
ADP 6'3", 190. Just really quick, wanted to go back to Paulie's comments about Charles Barkley being such a dominant force in the NBA and how The Last Dance has kind of brought that back to light. But has his personality on TV kind of overshadowed that? And to compare it to other sports, Nick Faldo in golf and Johnny Miller or Chris Collinsworth in the NFL, just curious to hear your thoughts.
What, do you think their personalities on TV have overshadowed their playing careers?
Yeah, in a sense. You kind of forget how dominant they were in their respective sports.
Yeah, I think with Charles that, and thanks for the phone call, Nick. I could see that where, you know, Barkley, we know him as a personality, and you forget how great he was as a player. John Madden, how many people remember him as a TV personality and a guy who created the Madden football game? You forget about the coach. I think he's the fastest to 100 wins in football history, in NFL history. Hall of Fame coach. Johnny Miller, before he got the yips, was a spectacular player, wonderful player. Faldo was one of the great players of all time. But yeah, and Collinsworth, people forget that Chris for a few years there was, Pro Bowl worthy. I don't know if he was a Pro Bowl wide receiver, but Chris was a dangerous deep threat for the Cincinnati Bengals back then. Very talented. Let me see. Rick in Florida joins us. Hi, Rick. What do you have for me today?
Hey, DP. Good morning. Second time, long time.
Yes.
Still 6'4", but due to Corona, up to 235.
All right.
DP, before I get to that list thing, one quick thing. When you and the Dinettes were in town, I got to tell you, man, I could have gotten a ticket faster to go see Hamilton than it was to go to your show. I tried all week, couldn't get tickets, man. I did go to Eisen, but I couldn't get to Dan Patrick. DP, I agree with something you said earlier about Bill Russell. Listen, there's no way that Bill Russell was a greater player than Will Chamberlain. I think Will Chamberlain should be higher in the list. And my problem with list, Dan, is when the media brings championships to fit their side of the argument. And I'll give you an example. If Bill Russell was the greatest team champion of all time, you know who number 2 was? Well, his birthday just passed a couple of days ago. That would be Yogi Berra. But when people talk about who's the greatest catcher in MLB history, they don't say, oh, Yogi Berra had 11 championships and 3 MVPs. No, we all know it's Johnny Bench. So when it's convenient for the media to bring up championships for their side of the argument, they bring up the argument. And
All
the
right.
same thing goes with Dan Marino in football.
All right. Well, thank you, Rick. Yeah. It goes back to what is the criteria here when you come up with these lists. And as long as I know what is being voted upon or factored in, I'm fine with that. And they're just lists. Can't take them so seriously, Todd. What did you learn today, Todd?
Tom Brady didn't appreciate Mike Vrabel waving his arms, flailing open. Tom should be throwing the ball to him.
McLovin?
Mannix said that Russell Westbrook would beat Rick Barry 101. No way.
See,
Mike Vrabel lives in a frat house.
What we learned brought to you by LegalZoom. They make it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today. The right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. Need to make it legal, make it LegalZoom.com. Head coach of the Raptors, Nick Nurse, on the program tomorrow. Talk to you then.